was another fellow there, he was shot as the road. He was shot and the senator down there.
Yeah.
Shot in the back. And of course that's what I was, he was shot in the back. So they brought him to that. There was so much, the golden or something. The woman was out and the poor guy was shot.
Yeah.
And they said they were here to that.
So the last one of them that was there was around the 1920s, was it? 1930? 1928.
1924, 25.
Yeah.
And later on they went back, but they went away from there and they just passed away there.
Yeah. Well, it was mostly women you'd have at that market, was it?
Well, women just come here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Just come to the back today.
Was there any other agent there that used to come from Ballina? That's the fella,
We
too.
turned around the English thinking not to use the place. But English was the foreman that was there at Hughes, at the time Hughes was coming.
Yeah. Is there still any of that stuff you're making there now? You never sold any of that there?
The race was down the Cape, we carried them across the lake there.
So, you must have been down there, were you? That's where you learned the craft, was it?
Yeah. Well, I didn't learn the course down there.
Yeah.
No, we learned it from the north. The lake, we carried across the lake. These couriers come from Roxburgh also, to the future. So then we get around them and we didn't even take nice. The Foghill and she was doing a lot.
Yeah.
And said at home, didn't like it and got away that sort of thing.
Did he then?
No. Well, but she was before my time.
School closed down, have you any idea? It was Father Quint's time, wasn't it? 1927? Yeah. It was open long before he came then, was it? Yeah. The Philippines. And this here is Martin Tahar's sheeping, or was. Today it is the property of Patrick Scanlon, Caramoa. Sheeping. Post office.
Oh,
Did you ever hear of Mc Hale?
I did.
Or Mc Hale?
I
Yeah. Hear of a sheeping there at where Paddy Scanlon was?
did. He was in Martin Tower, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah.
That's his last name. Got kid.
Yeah.
He died of the feet of Manchester.
Did they?
He was from the Fair Black.
Yeah. Was he going for America in the morning, as they say?
No, he wasn't, but I had him with him.
Yeah.
This was laughing feet by another day too.
Yeah.
Could be class. So the man for maybe kill him, might be pretty.
Yeah. There was a row then, was
There
there?
was.
And how did they dispose of the body? I don't think it was ever found, did they?
Oh, did it? They were going to throw it out in the rest of the and then brought him. He might come on under the day or no. You don't think taking you up at it?
Yeah.
I don't quit.
They didn't throw it into Mc Hale's pigs or anything, did
Yeah, I
they?
know. What they did, they didn't.
They didn't.
No,
Yeah.
they didn't.
Yeah.
I know.
That's from Mc Hale's hill. And this in front of us here is McAvey's Hill, called after John McVey, who lived in here on the left. And this is the site of his house, in here on the left, across from Duggan in the townland of Carramore. There's a storeroom and stores here and a dwelling house. And on the right hand side of the road here, that is the dairy.
Oh, that was it now there. That's one. It was a new one that was put onto it again, but that was it.
Did you re-roof it again or what?
It is.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't, but we wrote.
There was place on it, wasn't there?
Sailors, it was dangerous, I think, you know.
So that was it. And there was an old mill down there.
Here's where the fellas are walking, you see. Two are walking across the other side. That was the other side of see the bank on the fair side of them there.
Yeah.
But that was the mill race behind that bank, and it was going down there. The mill was there somewhere, you know.
Yeah.
And the river was going down in that mill, that stage.
What kind of a mill do you think it was?
I don't know what it was. I don't know what it was.
Cordon or flat?
Probably for cordon, because you see the two wheels. There was one wheel up. There's one wheel down there in our field, covered with sty.
Yeah.
And there's another one down in Paddy Scandal's field up a bit there above Enid.
Yeah.
And they're probably cordon, you know, because they were probably for grinding cordon, I'd say, you know.
Mc Hale, I suppose, or Mc Hale that would have that there, wouldn't it?
I'd say it was.
Yeah.
I'd say it was, because that was his land one down here.
It was indeed.
See,
Yeah. No, yes. Then this here is the home of Bernard Duggan, Carramore. Get it now, didn't they? How did they get it?
No, didn't the bank buy it, or didn't the land commission buy it from the bank or something? Well, they all joined up or something like that. And the land commission bought it for them. And both. Yeah. Your man was gone bankrupt or something. I think the bank was selling it. So they asked the land commission to step in and buy it for them. I think that's what happened.
Yeah. So there'd be more than your father involved?
There was a lot of work involved before that, driving cattle. There was driving cattle off and all that.
Oh yeah. I had him still around. Paul Earley, if you want to know. Yeah.
Clark.
Yeah.
Tony Hale, like.
Yeah.
William Earley was involved. Wasn't William Earley involved?
Yeah.
Baird and Hill, there was some.
No, he was some kind of a...
Oh, he was a bailiff on the land. He was a bailiff for them. And he tried to take over the land or something to get it, you know, under pump somewhere.
Yeah.
And I think they must have tumbled to it, you know, that he was doing it, and I think they drove his cattle off it or something, didn't they? And I went to the bank and bought it, you know. I went to the land commission, got the land commission to buy it.
Yeah.
Forgotten, land was in it too, you know.
Yeah. It was in the old schoolhouse
Yeah,
in the town.
school, yeah.
Yeah, and a way back there.
They couldn't say, get made drunk, you know, and what was her name now? Was it Mud or something they call her?
Oh, I don't know, she was a head person.
Yeah. There's some name on it, you know. She was,
She was one of these. She probably caused his downfall in the end.
well, when we were young there, that house was there, all that the only thing, the roof wasn't on it.
Yeah.
And all the buildings. I bought a load of them stones out with Charlie Gate into it up, putting in drains and everything, you know.
Yeah, a few, they were built up the front.
Yourselves that demolished it, or local people, it wasn't the land commissioner that demolished it.
Ah, no. I've taken bits out of it and everything, you know.
No, no, yes,
I suppose when Tony Kearney, if we got it though, I suppose they bought, was the roof on at that time when Tony Kearney got it?
It was,
They
How
were-
long ago, have you any idea, would that be, that they made that deal?
About 1922, wasn't it, or something? It was 1922 this house was built here anyway.
Yeah.
And this house, my father came living here, you see, then. He was living in St. Alban. And he came living here and they built that house.
Yeah.
So it was around that time, you know, they got the land. It was around 1920 or 22, I'd say.
Yeah. Ah, yeah. Yeah. This here is the wicket, the servants' entrance up to Carramore House. Now the people of Foghill that worked in Carramore Estate came up across the marsh here, up these fields, crossed over the road here, and into this wicket, servants' entrance, and up the lawn. Carramore House. And this here is the wicket. Once it had a red door, now the colour is different. It has a cheaper model. Now up this lawn. Carramore House. Once the home of the Palmers and McCormick's, and now Robbie Buck is there. Carmore House. In 1838 it was the home of Roger Palmer. Around 1641 the Earl of Cork owned it, before him I'd say. I'm not sure who built the present day house. Samuel Crozier McCormick, the lawyer, must have, well, he was here before 1898 and he wasn't here in 1856. Samuel was born in 1852 and died in 1911. He lived to be 79 years. He is buried in Farm Cemetery. He was also involved in the history of Killala with H.C. Burke in sorting out the Kirkwood dispute. This was a profitable adventure for both lawyers and disastrous for the Kirkwoods. Sam had a son called Niall. He also lived up here. He was a farmer. He gave much employment to the people of Foghill and Backen. He offered much assistance to the farmers by lending them horses and shifters and hay cutting machines and other barnyard tools. Those who were obliged by him were paid in some ways by giving an odd day's labour saving on the harvest. He also gave away medicines and cures for cattle and animals and also people, and with much success. He also started and got going the Lacken Pipe Band. They had bagpipes, side drums, kettle drums and the big drum. Members were Philip Madden, who was pipe major, Woody Nealon, Donald McCormick, Patrick Needham, Paddy Brady, Willie Boyd, Willie Buck, Ned Gorman, Sonny Buck and Mc Hale. This band reached a high standard when I remember all the times they played and how well they paraded in comparison with the army bands I've seen parading at Salthill festivals over 25 years ago. This band was in existence from about 1943 until 1950. They performed at local football matches, Ballina, Feshana and Memorials in Ballycastle. Many of the members in later years drank too much, something which Niall McCormick was totally opposed to. It brought to an end the Lacken Pipe Band eventually. Niall was the sole promoter and organiser of this band. I can remember Niall as a benevolent man in the community, for which he is not well remembered today. In 1838 there were 24 families in this townland of Carramore. In 1856 there were only 7 families. The famine in one way or another got rid of 17 families. Today there are only 4 families here, including the McCormicks. And this here is Carramore House, a typical landlord's house, probably built by the Palmers. Later home of McCormick and now Robbie Burke is there. And this is the lawn, and over there in the distance is the new house in which resides Donald McCormick and family. And here was the main entrance, Carramore Gates into Carramore House and the avenue leading up to it. There's another view of the new house built by Donald McCormick, modern day dwelling. And here is the cemetery in which Samuel Crozier McCormick lies and his son Niall. Born 1832, Samuel died 1911, and Niall is not so long buried there. Niall died. View of our France Cemetery, where they are. Lacken Pipe Band. Philip Lavin was pipe major, Niall McCormick the promoter, Willie Needham of Killigary, Ned Gorman of Killala, who was an army drummer at one time, Donald McCormick, Carramore, Sonny Buck of Castlelacken, who was the big drummer, Patrick Needham of Killigary. Mc Hale of Little Drone, who was a side drummer. Paddy Brady of Little Drone. And Willie Buck of Bela Salah, who is now departed. Black and Pipe Band, organised by Niall McCormick, Cannonball. And up here is a road made in the 1920s which leads to Ratfrishlan. On the left here is the Carramore estate, and on the right is Rathlochy, the port of Rathlochy, one-time property of Palmers. You can see that wall on the left there, the Carramore estate, McCormick land. And there's the view of Rathlochy. This road was made, I think, in the 1920s. And on the left of this river that runs down here to the bushes is the drone. Left of that wall there. And over here is Carramore townland, but it is called after this fort over here, Ratfrishlan, which would mean the fort of the Breslin, probably occupied by a Breslin family in olden times. Now about 200 yards towards the strand down here was an old village which disappeared during famine times. You can see the track of the river there. It was there in 1838, 7 or 8 houses, and in 1856 they had disappeared. Probably disappeared during the famine years. This townland extended up here by this river, away up here, northwards towards, not northwards but westwards towards Foghill. An area of firs and bushes and rough land. Goes away up here as far as I can. This is called Ratfrishlan, although it is Carramore townland. And this road over here now is reasonably new. Now, this is where we are now. That is the northern end of the townland, and that pointer there points out the river that we were looking at running through the bushes a few minutes ago. It runs all the way down to meet the Clonalhan River. On the left side of that was the drone. And this is the new road made, I suppose, around the 1920s, I'm not too sure. Now at this turn here, I think it met with the ancient road coming down from Foghill. Came down there. It is all wooded and furze bushes today. But there is an ancient road up there somewhere. And down ahead here is the Carramore house. Farther east and then bushes. In here to the left, went down the old roadway to the village down by the river that disappeared during famine times. And further down there is Ratfrishlan, the Breslin fort. See, there's a track of a roadway there, going down to the old village, which no longer exists. Now that old village was down where these trees are growing in the distance there, and full bushes. Farther over is the woodland down there is the site of some old houses and foundations and relics. And Paddy Mc Hale tells me that an old roadway went down by that river coming out at Killegary, Carramore boundary, probably used to serve the villagers that lived here at one time. Now down there is the red tiled roof, or this road we see going down there is rather new. There is the red tiled roof of the new new McCormick's house, and there is the site of the old Carramore house. This land all around here, over as far as the river on the left, belonged to Palmer's McCormick. Now many of the Killegary people own it. Now it went out, Carramore town went out to meet that river we saw there in the distance, called Clonalhan River, well, flows into Lackhamstrand. And up here is the west side, rough country, grazing land, full of furze. Carramore. Now, right out this shed at the strand was a two-storied house. It was one time a yeoman barracks and later on a post office around 1920. That shed there would be roughly about the situation of it. Now after 1920 the post office wasn't there anymore. It was up in Carramore, the old house.
The new post office, and this was the site on the left here of the old post office around 1920 or thereabout, preaching, and later on 1828 moved on to here.
The post office was there across where people call it, where McGunn's barrels or sheds today.
The post office was in McGunn's old house there, you call
I
it.
don't remember that.
Yeah, I don't remember it either. I only remember it in the present house. Not taken over it. Before that, it was down at the stand down Cork to Belstraw.
Oh, I know, yeah. Well, who was the last who was in it? I think it was McGunn's that was in that shed there, wasn't it? Was it Anthony?
Yeah.
Was it Anthony?
James.
James. He was also teaching in the school, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the old school at the back.
Yeah. The school was just ahead. They built a new house there. I think some of the family or something got sick or something.
Three or four of them.
Two of them died. I think that was the reason.
Anthony
They,
died.
Post office into the new house then, didn't they?
they moved to the post office into the new house.
Yeah.
The normal thing to do. When they left one house, the post office with them.
Yeah.
The other house.
What year that happened then, no?
No, I wouldn't have a clue about that year. Then after McGonn died, Mr. McGonn was postman for 5 years.
Should
Great
I?
visiting house.
Remember, Mrs., when they moved into the new post office for you?
I do.
But you put a date on it.
Before 1930, was it?
Yeah, I think so.
I thought it was before.
Was it?
So couldn't be that
No,
before.
no, it's not long before. 1928.
Oh, yeah. Oh, close enough. Moving up now to the site of Carramore Primary School of 1836. Anthony McGunn's taught here. He came all the way out from Carrickmacsean until he built his own house down here where the old post office was. He must have taught here for about 50 years or more, and after him came his son, James. James was teaching there, I know, in 1914, maybe in the 1880s too. They must have had very little holidays. I can see entries in registers for the old school dated 1st, 6th and 18th of August. They must have been working through most of the month of August. It must have been all work and no play. There were pupils here from Foghill, Banher, Belsa, not Foghill.
Now in 1836 the public school was here for 60 pupils, endowed with a £29 a year grant by Mrs. Palmer, and she lived down in the bushes there in Carramore House. Anthony McGurn taught here according to Mc Hale of Killala with distinction. His name, he claims, is still a legend in Lacken. His sons were John, James, Tom, and his daughters were Kate and Bridget. All became teachers as well. Among those who passed through his hands were three who later became priests: Tom O'Hara, William McGurn, Pat Keaveney. His son James later taught here, and he also owned the post office, the old post office down there. Now there were also pupils here from Cloonanas, Palmerstown, Turin. The Nealans were stewards in Carramore at the time, and they sent their family up here in 1896, and there were also Nealans shopkeepers around Carramore because they had children going to this particular school. And there we see the boundary going up there to the left. On the left of that boundary is Ballinalek, and down by the stream here is Carramore. Right of it is Ballinalek. Left of that house Carramore. There is the site of the old post office and the residence of the McGurns before they moved in the 1920s across the road here. Now a path across here from the post office over to Ballymurphy and on towards Ballycastle, because people did most of the travelling on foot in those days. Now there's a stream that goes down there towards Palmerstown, towards Clonalhan River, towards the bridge, and that is the boundary. It goes between the post office and Warwick. Ballinalek, the town of the flags, or the town of the ford of the flags. There we see 218 acres almost of it, as it was in 1838. Now, here would be the path from the post office across to Ballymurphy. And there would be the path from McDonald's of Ballinalek meeting that one. And there's the site of old McDonald's house, and the site of a herd's house that was there across from it, and the site of Mickey Scanlon's forge, or smithy, Peter Scanlon he was called later, and there was the site of the herd's house built by Samuel Crozier McCormick for Paddy Healy's father. Paddy Healy was his name, when he managed to evict him from the old herd's house that was built just across from McDonald's. And this stream here, right of this stream, is Ballinalek. Comes down to the Carrickanass Road here, crosses the river, and that little piece of land left of the river there, and this shown here on the right of the road is Ballinalek. The site of the quarry is up along this river now. This is where Boyd's old houses, and by this hedge here is a stream, the townland boundary stream. Running down to Clonalhan River, Ballinalek. And this is where the site of the old smithy was. Right, by the stream here. Ditch on the right here, left of that is Ballinalek, right of it is Carramore. Carramore land the other side of that fence, Ballinalek here. All up here. This is the road. From here on up is Ballinalek. And on the left here was the site of the smithy. Peter Scanlon, he was known I think as Mickey Scanlon's forge. Or he was known as Mickey Scanlon. Scanlons are here today, just fair knots. In there somewhere was the site of his forge. He's down on the valuation of 1856 to give it valuation as Peter Scanlon, but I think local people called him Mickey. Yes. Now in here on the left is the Scanlon household. Peter Scanlon lived there. This is, I think, the only road going through the townland of Ballinalike. Here on the right, as we see it, is Carramore School, situated in the townland of Ballinalike. This piece of land was given to them by the McCormicks, the Niall McCormick, to build this school here. There was a tradition there, the Palmers and McCormicks giving them land for school building and their sites. Ballinalike, according to O'Donovan, comes from Bailon-a-Licka, town of the flag. To be Bailon-a-Lock, the town of the flags. In 1838 it contained 217 acres. It was owned by Roger Palmer's Carramore House. Tenants hired up the rent of £1.5 and 9pence an acre. They grew the usual crops of oats, flax and potatoes. There were 24 Catholic families here. In 1856 the immediate lessor was Captain Phibbs. Also a Michael who had 4 acres and leased it to Timothy Kilgray as a tenant. Other tenants were John McAvey, who had 122 acres rented, Reverend Peter Neely, who had 28 acres rented and had a health house. I'd say that health house is probably the one that's there. It isn't the one, but one was built later, I'd say, in that area. Peter Scanlon, 19 acres. Michael Ford, 42 acres. Timothy Kilgray, 4 acres. Michael Ford, 1 cottage without land. Now, Martin Darcy owned this townland in 1641 according to Symington's Book of Survey and Distribution. So this house down here is Scanlon's. Down below that, around 1872, maybe long before that, there was a forge there that belonged to a man named Scanlon. He had a child going to Carramore Palmer School, farther down near the post office. Peter Scanlon was a tenant here in 1856, so he probably was the smithy that owned the forge down there, just below that house there. This is Carramore School in Ballinalike. This here is Carramore School, built in the year 1933, and up there is a shelter, which was not there in my time, 1945 to 1952, and I see some nice murals painted on the walls there. And up there is the house Samuel Crozier McCormick built for Paddy Healy. Down there is the yard, the schoolyard. Here's the main entrance. It wasn't the main entrance in my time. It was down around the corner there. This school was built in 1933, and the first teacher in here, I think, was Paddy Glacken, and after him came Sean Burke, who's now dead a few years. He came from Heathfield. A few pupils gained a few county council scholarships and made a civil service, but in 1952 got really going when Jerry McNulty and myself won 2 Gaeltacht scholarships to preparatory college in Galway, and from then on we were able to qualify, and many more followed. Then after him came Finan Burke, and now Paddy Lavin is in here. Now this school here was built after the other one, and the Palmer contributed the site also. The other one was down in that direction near the post office. The Palmers and McCormicks have been very helpful in providing sites and schools for this area. This is a health house. In 1856, Peter Neary had one rented here from Captain Phibbs. It was probably situated down there. Later on, there was a Paddy Healy here, and Samuel Crozier McCormick used his legal knowledge to take away his squatter's rights. He built him a new house, and then he had him put out of it when he couldn't pay the rent, whereas he couldn't have put him out of the old one. He had squatter's rights. Your father was a carpenter here up until when? 1933. Yeah. And that's where the old health house was down there, for the kids there. Yeah. And this was the one that he was able to evict.
The one he moved him into.
Yeah, and the one he moved him out of too, wasn't it?
And the one he moved him out of.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Your father, who did he do the carpentry work for? Was it for the McCormicks or?
No, he done that. He get to do it. He done it.
Oh, general man around the place.
Work for McCormick, too.
Yeah, yeah. Ah, yeah. And you're about to move out of here now, aren't you?
Yes, in the near future.
Yeah, yeah.
What's it like?
Now, this is the road that goes through Ballinalek. Left and right of this road. Goes way up past that bend there. Now you can see the boundary fence on the left going away down. The other side of that fence, the far side, is Hill Lower. This fence goes away down to meet the river that comes down by Carricknass Road. And down somewhere there is the site. This is the other side now of the road. Now up here is the townland boundary fence. On the right of that is Ballinalek. On the left side there is Hill Upper. And up there is Clough, or the site of the stone house, as mentioned by O'Donovan in 1838. Now this is January of 84. It looks cold, and it is cold. We're on Hill Upper here. The far side of the ditch there of the fence is Ballinalek. Looking out there at it, on the right. On the left here is Hill Upper. And that ditch there, right of it, is Ballinalek. That ditch is the townland boundary of Ballinalek. And on the right hand side is Ballinalek. This area in here is called Clough. At Clough, the site of the stone house, and there we see it, stones sticking up out of the ground. Maybe it is the ruins of an old house, or maybe it is the ruins of a pre-Christian burial. This area around here would be called Clough in 1838. There's another look at it. McDonald's of Ballinalek, and by this house went a pathway that met the other pathway coming from the post office, both going towards Ballymurphy. Now I'm told people going to the bog took this direction. Now across here is the site of the first head house, or head's house that was here by Reverend Peter Neary, and there's the site of the second one built by Samuel Crozier. Now old Paddy Healy was in this old site across the road here,
as I heard, and he had squatters' rights. And McCormick wanted to get him out. I think we told the story before, and so he built him a new one. And then he was able to evict him. Now this is the road, one and only, down to Barnelect, and it ends just here at this bend. Right here. We're looking now into the townland of Carramore, where we were before, and where I omitted some information about this school here. There we see the site or extent of the playground that was that Carramore Palmer School had, and I'm told that it was there in 1820. Another look at the site of the Palmer Schoolhouse. Now this is the daily report book, or a page from the daily report book of the school that was situated in this area that we have been talking about. And there we see the name Carramore Palmer National School, the road number 6942, parish of Lacken, County Mayo, and the electoral area Lacken South. In the barony of Earley. The nearest post office town was Carramore. Yeah, well, it had been with Lacken too, I think, as I mentioned there, and the area 5 3/4 square patches, built in the year 1877, and a shilling a year was paid as rent to R.C. Palmer of Carramore and by the manager. And there we see that the precise date of opening as a school 1820. So it was there before 1877 as a national school. And we see internal dimensions of each room, 40 feet, and the internal breadth, 16 feet. And the external dimensions of the house, 44 feet, and the external breadth, 20 feet. And the height of the walls up to the eave, 12 feet. And they had some furniture there too. Number of desks and firms, 7. 8 foot long. And separate firms, 6 of them. No committee and no meetings held. And Reverend Hugh Conway, the parish priest living down at the Strand, was the manager. The teacher had no residence. Yeah. Some data on the Carramore Palmer School. One of the pages from the daily report book for the year 1889. Carramore Palmer School. Earlier I stated that Carramore Palmer School was here in 1836. In fact, the page that we've just seen from the daily report book of January 1889 indicates there was a school here in 1820. It was used as a national school. It was built from private funds. The Palmers more than likely built it. The area was 5 3/4 square patches. That would include the extent of the school there. The school itself is 44 feet long by 22 feet wide and 12 feet high as far as the eave. The inside dimensions were 40 feet long by 16 feet wide. The furniture of the day, 7 forms, 8 feet long and 6 forms. I don't know how many feet long they were. There was no school committee and no meetings held. The manager, Hugh Conway, parish priest of Lacken, he was the manager. He paid a shilling a year to Mr. R.C. Palmer as rent. Anthony McGovern, I think, was the first teacher here, and afterwards came his son. Mc Hale, lower, coming from a barn or a gap in the hilltop, and there we see it 144
acres of it. Now there's the road that goes up through Barnelek and separates Barnhill Lower from Barnhill Upper. It's 200 feet over sea level, and there's a river or a stream that runs down through it. And there are stepping stones used by people that use the footpath way over from Ballymurphy over to the post office in Carramore. And there's the site of a fort or an ancient settlement. And there's another look at the shape of Barnhill. And the boundary is down there between Barnelek and Barnhill. Barnhill Lower on the left hand side of the road here. This house here is Dennis Langan's. He was a stonemason and built many houses. He built my father's house, and this was drawn around 1938. On the right hand side of the road, Barnhill Upper, on the left, Barnhill Lower. And this is house here is one of the many McGee's houses in this townland. And this is a McGee house also. Barnhill is also named from the little top, Barneen, or a gap in the mountains, Barna. Now that mountain top or Barna would be in Barnhill Upper, at the peak of the mountains, I suppose, which would hardly be situated in Barnhill Lower. And there's a road going up to Barnhill Upper. Barnhill Lower. According to what Donovan, it came from there is for Barneen. It means little top, or Barneen, or little gap. It could be a gap in a hilltop or a gap in a mountain top. It has 144 acres of land. It was in 1838 the property of Sir William Palmer. His agent was John Heaviside of 13 Hollis Street, Dublin, and P. Nolan of Mine Killala was the other agent. Now, Barnhill Lower is way down here, that side of this road here. Tenants in 1838 paid 30 shillings an acre annually. 30 families lived here in 1838. They were all very poor. The crops were oats, barley and potatoes. In 1856, according to the Griffith valuations, the tenants were Patrick Mahan, Patrick Kennedy, Mary Ford, Bridget Carden, Hugh Neary, Bridget McGee, James Jordan, Mary O'Hara, Thomas Kinhart and John McAndrew. Much the same as the townland of Barrow. Well, now, 30 families lived here in 1838. Only 11 families were left after the famine in 1856. It was much the same as the townland of Barrow that had only 25 families in 1838 and only 5 after the famine in 1858. And today, in 1983, there's only 2. Barnhill has 2 or 3 families here today, I think. Townland boundary going way down there. Barnhill Lower. Over there on the right, Ballymurphy. There's the townland boundary, that fence going down there, all the way to the river. And there are stepping stones down there in the fort. There's a river here, and somehow probably up there.
and stepping stones. Now the path went down by the river here on the left hand side. And there's a fort, an ancient settlement. The bushes up there in the distance is where the road is situated. Settlements like this were from up to 1500 AD. Now down by the river there on the left hand side the path went. The path from Ballymurphy into Carramore and in through that depression there through the fort, right through it and down for Carramore. Now there, that black line going down there is the river. It's the townland boundary. Foghill Lower ends there. And that's Ballymurphy, the one and only house in it, Mc Hale. People did a lot of walking in those days and they took the shortest cut through the fields. Hence the path from Ballymurphy to the post office. Foghill Upper, named from the little top or the little gap in the hilltop 400 feet over sea level, and that's what it looks like. 373 acres. That's the road between on the right Foghill Upper and on the left Foghill Lower. Now the road doesn't go out that far. It goes there, and that area is called Sweep from there in. And there's an old road up to the old village of Foghill, and there's the site of an ancient fort or settlement, and there was another road running up there too. That one is in fairly good repair. There are many little roads in the townland. There's the situation of the old village. Of course there would be a lot of houses, 37 of them scattered all around there. There wouldn't be big houses, they would be small. There's the site of a trigonometrical point, and here's a contour line 400 feet over sea level. Now in that area there is the site of an old fort or an ancient burial ground. May have been pre-Christian. And this is the road that separates the upper townland of Foghill from the lower townland of Foghill. Passing by Dennis Langan's on the left. We had been on this road before doing Foghill Lower. McGee's, I think. Now there were 35 houses up here on the right in 1838. Only 21 in 1856. 14 of them had disappeared during the famine years. And there's another new house built by one of Dennis Langan's sons. One of the few new houses that have been built in this townland. Very few of the old names of 1856 survive here. And there's one of the old roads leading up to the old village. Very much disused today. And here's another one of them that led up there, or led up to the old village. Of course, there are many little roads up at 400, the level at 400 feet over sea level. A lot of little roads moving through it, some of them leading on to Ballycastle and more of them out to Lissadrone. And of course this townland run away out to Lissadrone Bog and back towards Mc and Carcullen. And there's the side of another roadway to the right there. And here we are coming on to now to the area which is known as Sweep. Now, Hill goes beyond this road there for a little distance, and over here, that's looking at it from west to east, the townland of Hill Upper. And up here in this area, way up in the fields there, is this site of either a fort or a burial ground, which has not been registered. Named after the little top or little gap, Borden. Now, that could be it over there, or over here. I'd say it's over there. It is 400 feet over sea level. It has 373 acres. In 1838 it had. It belonged to Sir W. Palmer. His agent was P. Nolan of Moyne. It had 120 acres of uncultivated land. The remainder supported 35 families. They were all Roman Catholics, and they paid £70 annually in rent. In 1856, according to the Griffiths valuations, there were 21 families here. 14 families had disappeared during the famine years. Sir W. Roger Palmer, the baronet, owned it. The tenants were Anthony Carden, he had 10.5 acres rented. Anthony Carden, 7 acres. Thomas Kelly, 16.5. Thomas Kelly, 30 acres. Thomas Kelly, 18 acres. Anthony Carden, 16.5 acres. Another Thomas Kelly, 11.5 acres. Patrick Mahan, 8 acres. Hugh Neary, he may have been a brother of Father Peter, Reverend Peter Neary. He had a land and a health house. He had 13 acres. Michael Kilcullen, 20.5 acres. Hugh Neary again, same man, he must have a second hold on here, 23.5 acres. Michael Kilcullen, land and health house, 62 acres. And Michael Kilcullen, 10.5 acres. Other tenants were John Scott, Michael Doherty, Conor Kearney, Michael Ford, Patrick Kennedy, Mary Ford. They paid a total of £167 11 shillings in rent annually. Now, some of these people may have owned 2 or 3 holdings or had them rented. Some of the names survived. Paddy Kennedy's has gone, and Kearney's have gone, and Fords, I think, have gone. So this was it here, above the road, and this area up here. This was known as Hill Upper. Now, the other side of this road here, down there, was Hill Lower. Now this here is a mound of earth which once, I suppose, could have been a passage grave.
Yes, it certainly looks very like it. Well, passage graves would date from about 2500 BC down for maybe 400 or 500 years, maybe more. They had a kind of a curve, a ring round them. That now would be the centre of it, where the burials took place. And there were usually cremations.
Yeah.
Now that's still the centre. See in the distance now at the far edge, that would be some of the curbstones. Or that possibly is a capstone that rolled down when the mound was...
a round hill in those days.
Yeah.
Yeah, a round hill of stone. Denuded by farmers or other people looking for...
Yes, and weathering, I suppose, too, would have washed some of it away. Now, there's part of the curb again now. And some of those stones are moved out of position. They should be in a kind of a circle or in an oval.
Yeah, the entrance was from here, I'd say, going in from
this side, yes.
east to west in the centre.
Yeah, well, that's generally the way they...
Yeah. And this one was not marked now by O'Donovan, I don't think, or on the present day maps it's not marked, this particular passage grave.
Well, I'd say that's well worth investigating, because I'm sure there would be some kind, possibly pottery, bone pins, or maybe human remains.
Yeah. Now that's the boundary going over towards Carrick and Lissadrone. It's all a boggy area here.
No, but The fact that there's a burial mound there would mean that it was inhabited for at least 1,000 years, or maybe 2.
Yeah. Some of the first, and these are some of the ancient roads that were here in about 1838. There was a big population here before the famine,
Yes.
living in these hard conditions.
And before the climate changed, you know, when that was pasture land or arable as they call it, it would have supported a bigger population still.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Yes, and that mound, that burial place, is it a kind of proof positive, if you like, that there were a large number of people in the area.
Oh, yes.
Maybe not on the hill, but certainly in the district.
Yeah. Well, these are the roads used by the tenants and small farmers in those days, 1838, before the famine, and possibly after the famine. And they had very poor land for living in. This is Knockbaha now, also about 400 feet over sea level. 2 houses in it. And now we're looking down, we can see the Castlachan's gazebo there, and Lachan Strand. Great view from up here. Also here is a trigonometrical point where Ordnance Survey took levels and checked out their findings. Right here now, where we're standing. Covered in bushes there. Now he would be standing there on the mound, the highest point of Barnhill, probably the place that gives its name, or yes, gives the name Barneen. The little top or the little gap, probably the little top to Barnhill. There's the present day houses of the village. A lot of them uninhabited. And there's the Palmerstown River running out there by Khartoum and Killala Bay in the background. And if we can see the Sahi up there. Yeah. And one of the many roads in it still being used, I think, this one. Actually, this one has been used fairly recently. There are tracks of.
We'll photograph now in Michael Herity's passage graves dating from about 2000 BC, and that's of Cairn U as it is today at Lough Crew, and you can see the burial chambers there and the passage leading away on this side. Now, what he calls cruciform tombs, and they're very much the same now as the ones we were looking at. All of these are different variations, and then in later times they kind of went away into this shape.
Yeah.
Now this is a photograph now of the mound at Dove, and of course the one we're talking about now in Barnhill wouldn't be anything like the size of that one, but it would be the same general shape. And there would be this mound of earth and stones and so on piled up over the burial plot, or over the burial spaces.
And the entrance would be over here on the right hand side, wouldn't it? That we're looking at there.
That's right.
And these were denuded by farmers or other people that needed the stones.
Yes.
Later on.
You know, the rain and the frost and everything else over the years, because in 2000 years there would be a fair amount of erosion. And then there was a change in climate too in the meantime.
Well, it'll never leave it in the position that burial ground we're looking at there would be in. Like these stones, they were all hooked up, and the whole mound round the edge was uprooted, wasn't it?
Part of it is a position, all right, but some of the stones are displaced, all right, you can see that.
Yeah.
But they were too big to roll very far.
Yeah. Well, the useful stones, I suppose, were taken away for drainage or roads or whatever. There are a lot of little roads up here.
That's it, or field fences. Or
other like.
Coming back here now to this photograph of Lough Crew, the burials were in here in these chambers, and now in this one you can see there are divisions, and they would be cremated, and the bones then will be deposited here.
Yeah.
And over 1,000 years, or maybe 2,000 years, these places were still used for burials, and there would be what they call in dictionary terms ordinary inhumations afterwards, down to Christian times, I would think.
The reason we're doing this is Barden Hill looks something like this.
Yes. Yeah.
And this kind of thing could have gone on there over 2,000 years BC.
Yes.
Yeah.
And possibly for 1,000 afterwards too.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yes, for a long period there, but like it was populated, I'd say, about that time, or maybe earlier.
But the similarity is remarkable.
Yeah.
So much so that you could nearly say positively that it's one of these, or more than likely one of those anyway.
Yeah, a passage grave.
Passage, yes.
Yes, a cabin too.
Clonalahan, named after the meadow of Allahan. It has 236 acres of land. And there we see it, bounded on most sides by streams. There's the Clonalahan River running down towards Strand on the west side. And on the east side, another stream goes down and into the Clonalahan River. And this area up here is another river there too, and there's the road that goes down through the centre of the townland and on towards Foghill. And this is the road that goes up through yes. And there's the village at the centre of it. The village of Clonalahan in the townland of Clonalahan. Now this road goes away up and out through Clonby. Here's the site of an old house at the bridge. And there's the bridge, the boundary bridge, Clonalahan Bridge, named after the townland and the river. Flows away down. Right of that river is the townland of Clonalahan. Now Clonalahan also extends this side of the road. Goes away up by this river here, left of the river. And it goes away around. Here you see the river coming up here. Side of the river is Ballinelec. And it goes away around the hill there at the back until it meets at the stream at the back of McLean's. And McLean's house away over there in these bushes. Now there's the other road, going through the centre of the townland. Now this road leads to Clonby. When it leaves the townland, a couple of 100 yards up the road here. And that's the Kearney house, a house that had a shop one time, and the last shop they had, I believe, was butchering or selling meat. Tony Mc Hale, Patch Henry or something was the name of the house, of the old man that lived here. That's the original house.
Now there's the stream, that's the boundary. Left of that is Clonalahan. Over there is another townland, and across here. Now up here, on the road here, is in Clonalahan. There's a stream that crosses the road here. That is the boundary. Not the drain there, but a stream, the other left side of the road, as we see it. And there it comes down by McLean's, and away up round the corner there until it meets somewhere near the Clonalahan River, the far side of the hill. You can see the drain going way up there. Now the house on the left there is in Clonboy. The stream runs right under the pillars there and down along the road, under the car. You see it running down there. And that house there is McLean's, it's in Clonboy. The dog is probably in it. Between us and the dog there is the townland boundary. Now this road here is in Clonalahan, the meadow of Allahan. Now down there to the left was the site of an old house. I don't know, was it of some importance or not. Now we're heading off towards the heartland of Clonalahan, to the village of Clonalahan in the townland of Clonalahan. And here we see it right ahead here. Now left here, on the left hand side, is the fort, which is not on the maps, on today's maps. Allahan's fort, a big one, the one that gives its name to the townland. The chief himself is supposed to be buried there, Allahan. We'll go up here to the left to find it. This is the village of Clonalahan and the townland of Clonalahan. According to O'Donovan of 1838, it comes from Clonalahan, Allahan's meadow or lawn. It is in the parish of Lack, and it was the property of Debrú Kirkwood of Clonala. He let it to occupying tenants for 2 lives and to others at will. Rent was 29 shillings an acre annually. Oats, flax and potatoes were the crops. The village of Clonalahan was situated in the middle of the townland. Here is the village and down that way. It contained almost 236 acres of land. In 1856 it was leased to Captain Phibbs, and he had it leased to tenants. And the tenants were Patrick Tahar, Patrick Franklin, James Mahan, Patrick Tahar, Charles Kearney, Aeneas Earley, Patrick Kearney, Owen Kearney, Patrick Kearney, McGurn, Ellen Rogan, Patrick James, who had 45 acres rented, and he had a heads house, Thomas Kearney, John Rape, and Patrick Tahar again. Many of names are recurring over and over again. It may have been the same man that had a few holdings rented from Captain Phibbs or leased. Now this townland gets its name from... Now, Allahan's fort is not in the direction I pointed out there. It is across the road in Patrick Kearney's field, just behind the house. On the right here is James E. Clark's. He has been dead for the last, many years, 40 years. He was a weaver, a linen weaver and a woolen weaver. Now we are approaching the stream here. Passing down is the boundary. Goes away up there to the right. And down to the left, crosses away down there and goes away over to the left. Left of that stream, Clonalahan. It goes into the Clonalahan River and is the townland boundary on the north side. Right there is Foghill, and here are the lands of Clonalahan.
Now way up there to the right on this side is another fort. This one is marked in on the 6-inch map of the day. It may have been a burial ground, but it doesn't give its name to the townland. And now up here is the house of James E. Clark. This house was built by Mc Hale, who was a builder. And here is the fort here at the back of the present day Patrick Kearney's field, a massive fort, O'Llaghan's Fort. Tradition has it that he's buried here. This structure has fallen apart over the years. You can see how it has been built, or it had been built up there. Almost 6 feet in height, maybe 6 feet in height. Built of stones and clay, and this is what it looks like on the top. There forward is Patrick Kearney's house, and we see the extent of O'Llaghan's Fort, which O'Donovan omitted for some unknown reason. Now here, I'd say, is the tunnel where it would start, the escape chamber, somewhere around here, where he's standing, and it goes off in that direction out there. We say that because many liquids and fertilizers on the ground there have disappeared down through here for some unknown reason. O'Llaghan's Fort. Now here is in Paul Earley's land is a site of an ancient school that was here possibly before or during the same time as the Carramore Palmer School. Who did you hear saying that it was there? Tom Taha. Yeah, well, that's by the heath, is it?
By the heath.
Yeah.
There was 4 or 5 houses in it.
Must have been more than that, wasn't it? Well, it was them that was working on the Rundales down there, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rundales here too.
This area here?
Yeah.
Probably was.
But they leveled it out.
They did, yeah. And the last bit was levelled the other day, wasn't it?
Was.
Yeah.
There beyond.
There beyond? Yeah.
The kilometers was all levelled at the time. If you would have had it.
That was the day when I was in business, wasn't it? Yeah. The site of the old school. You don't know, did you ever hear the name of the schoolmaster that was here?
No.
He wasn't Hoban, was he?
No.
Or Mahdi? No?
No, we never have the name.
Yeah.
The old people there. That's it. The Earley man won't build on the house there above.
Yeah.
But he built that part onto it.
Yeah.
What's the market now? In. And he hadn't the money to put the slates on it. And he wouldn't get they wouldn't buy it on then.
Well, they wouldn't rent it like
They
them.
wouldn't rent it.
Yeah. No, down there are the Rundales.
Yeah, below at the track now. There's no one below or anything.
Yeah.
Only the man on the machine.
Well, one man that owned it, was it? Like he owned each strip, was it?
Yeah.
And could he till it?
He could tell it, but he couldn't graze it, right?
No, he'd have to tether the cow there, wouldn't he, or be there with her?
He'd have to tie the cow to his leg and be working away.
Oh, was that it?
Oh, you're getting me now on
I believe it was a constant source of, what was it, aggravation down here, these Rundales, wasn't they? They were always in the next...
And then if you let out a cow, she was gone into the next man's field.
Yeah. And the war was up then?
Oh, the war was up.
Did you ever hear of any fist fights being here on account of it? No. Just having a go at one another, yapping away.
Well, the houses much the same.
They'd be different.
No, but wasn't they built very close to one another?
They were built up to that, I believe.
So then the houses must be going down far or down the lane there, were they?
No.
No.
But don't hear this man is here now. Yeah, and round about, yes. The first one down here.
Yeah.
Down here, we go to down. We're going down there and one over there and then there below.
Yeah.
What should
So it went down this way,
it go down here along the sea,
and over along the ditch,
and all along the ditch below.
and over where the white tractor is.
You don't need that roof of the hill.
Yeah.
That's the height of the field. There was a white spot there because there was a gap there for going in.
Yeah.
So I don't know, what we got roof of down.
Tell me, were there houses going down any further than this?
I know there wasn't it. It was the right of way down to the land below.
Yeah. Yeah. You never hear about any fights about the Rundales?
When you go down the side of the boat, you don't find it. You go down this way, the road was all the way as far as the gate. You see, fair close, go further way, corner below there. That's not what's
Is it not? Do you remember the Rundales being in use? You did not, did you? Who owned the land at that time? Oh, yeah. Where was that little road going over there now? See that little road going over there?
The land was straight down, that was left on one bird.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
You know what right away was left below.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's just line side that one.
On the right-hand side?
Yes, Foghill side. That's Foghill side was there.
That was where St. Patrick was supposed to have landed first, was it?
That's where he was, there he came on the man went over to salmon.
Ah, yes. Do you know
They never
the...
grew a salmon around him like that, or the tide never covered.
Yeah. Do you remember the garden?
I think that he actually, he said he didn't finish.
Yeah, and everyone was bigger. The next one was bigger.
He said there never would be salmon killed.
Well, did he throw a stone in the water and say that it never would be, that the salmon wouldn't be caught again until it was washed ashore?
He did.
It is.
He did, and there was never a salmon killed.
Yeah.
So I think no, he was wrong. I think the big total was 7 or 8 pounds.
Did you?
He was a salmon.
You think he was a salmon? Maybe that stone was washed ashore again, was it?
I know, that wouldn't be washed in.
Yeah.
But one thing, he didn't matter, that wouldn't come to
Tell me, what side was he standing on? Must be the Foghill side.
Foghill side, because the hill in is there all the time.
Oh, yeah.
You see, that must be only narrow about that.
Well, it might be bigger than what it is today, Thomas.
It could be. You know, it's swollen in there once, it's getting narrow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it. They never grow a shot again.
Never did?
No. That's where all the 4 feet which we saved one was the thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just at the very brown over that.
Oh, I see you there. I got it there. Oh, not at all.
Will you get it there?
Oh, yeah.
Huh?
What do you think it was? A lishing, was it?
And it's setting down first. On that side.
Yeah. He never touched it.
No, no.
And that's in Carramore Townland, isn't it?
Carramore.
Yeah.
And the other one.
I remember that one of people.
How long ago since the last burial, Tommy?
What age was it now? Do you know?
You guess he must be 50, well over 50, you see?
Yeah. More than 60 years now.
Since the last burial was him. Yeah.
They never wrote it.
Is there any special name on it there?
No. I'm going to make this to set up. I think goes through to the BJ and then we'll have to go.
The Lisheen in Carramore. And they are the Rundales that has been rotavated lately. You can see the dark tracks of the clay. In between them was the Rundale or the Kylodge. And one man dare not trespass on the other. Belonged to the people of the Ballyheath. They were the constant source of aggravation and trouble between the tenants and the cottagers or whatever they were that were living here. Now, down here we are told, in this area, just about here now, is the site of a giant's grave. Tradition has it. Tommy Tahar is the source. In that area. He said there were a few stones left there. Well, this Hamadan is standing here, the giant's grave. Now this is the house of John Clark, the weaver. That was some of James's weaving 40 years ago, was it?
Yeah. Oh, long enough. Just well 40 years ago. No. That's Feddel's weaver. The best those ever did on the road.
Yeah. Well, your father's name wasn't James, was it?
John.
John. Oh, yeah, handiwork. The loom. And what else did he do? Had he the carding machine?
No.
He hadn't. Well, they had carders of some type or another, hadn't they?
They had cars and the spinning machine.
Right, the wheels, yeah.
The spinning wheels, that's right.
Yeah.
And then they had the warping bars, which they had to warp the threads, you see,
Yeah.
or just put in the load.
Yeah. And then they turned out material like this, didn't they?
That's right.
You never heard of Williams's tailors in this townland, no?
No, Coleman's are reflected.
Coleman.
Weavers were too cool.
Yeah.
You hear of Hoban's down in Foghill, no?
Yes, and Hoban.
Nothing open sure there was a weaver. Other was
In the townland, there was the weavers and there was the carpenters and there was the builders and there was
And the shoemakers.
shoemakers, Franklin's up there.
That's right.
Yeah.
And the teachers now.
Well, it's lately they were living here, wasn't it?
twice, yeah. The about people, the young age know about them, the Shannons were, wasn't it?
They were.
John Shannon was done about an acre.
Yeah. Well, Peter, that the name is.
Got Jensen.
Yeah, the name is down there 1856. You know, it's Peter. Now I had some of them calling him Mickey. But Peter was the name I saw down on the evaluation of 1856.
You were not looking for the back now. You tried to hit in the
Yeah,
back,
yeah.
the back. Just from here to there is only put it.
Yeah. Close patched, I suppose, like it. Now this, John Clark here was one of the craftsmen of the village. Another one was the builder up here, Earley, and Franklin's on the right here, shoemakers. The Earleys were also carpenters. Now tradition has it here that this bush ahead was called Piper's Bush. For some unknown reason they had music there late at night, and maybe phosphorus if they had travelled the marsh on their shoes, which gave the idea of fire now and again. A tradition. That wall by the gate going down there, the bush in the background, is supposed to be called Clyde Chornta or Clyde Torna. There was supposed to be a lightning strike there. Another man said it was the boundary. Well, there's no boundary there at present. Each of these villages were kind of a complete unit. They had the craftsman, they had the weaver, and then here was the shoemaker, a Paddy Franklin or a Patrick. And further up to the right there was the builder, Earley. He lived up here. He was also a carpenter. This was the house he built. And there's this plaque on the wall, erected by Earley in the year 1874. He intended to have a schoolhouse here. In here to the left, Franklin the shoemaker lived. Townland of Clonalahan. So we're looking there at Rundale system.
Yes, indeed. I understand that the Lacan area was one of the last places where it was in operation. It was common all over the country 100, 150 years ago. And in fact, I think it goes back to pre-Norman times.
Yeah.
Ordinary times now what used to happen is they had pieces of land and they had a rotation. Now I'm not absolutely certain of the rotation, but I think it was potatoes, oats, maybe oats again. Then it was left fallow for a year or 2 years, and then they went to another field. Now taking each field individually, the whole village then had stripes there, and the little sound divisions between them were called quilod.
Yeah.
The divisions themselves, there probably is an Irish name for them, but I don't know it. They were arranged in such a way that, if you like, the light soil and the good soil and maybe the wet were part of everybody's patch. The field was divided as evenly as they could. Then they drew lots for it. and somebody who had a particular patch one year needn't necessarily have it the next time. The headman in the village used to draw lots, and that was the fairest way. The same way too with the quality of the soil.
Yeah.
They tried to arrange the patches in such a way that it was evenly divided.
Yeah. So they were a constant source of aggravation and rows and...
Well, there again, you see, they had commonages. Now, the difficulty was the fences. What was set aside for tillage wasn't supposed to be grazed.
Yeah.
But then there were headlands, and sometimes that was a little bit too good to let go.
Yeah.
But it meant, in other words, that any man who grazed a tillage place wasn't playing the game. And for that reason he'd probably get the enmity of his neighbours. Now, they had a way of they had a way of dividing the commonalty as well. I can't remember exactly now what it was. This is going back now to the Brehon laws. The grazing for 2 geats, I think, was equal to that of a sheep. The grazing of 2 sheep, I think, was the same as a calf. 2 calves then, I think, same as a year-old. And 2-year-olds then, the same as a full-grown animal.
Yeah.
That's subject to correction, but they had a division like that.
Yeah, this was when land was unfenced and all the people of the village owned. Yeah, had to graze the
Well,
common.
there were commonages up for a long time. Mc Hale was all a commonage at one stage.
Yeah. There's still a commonage down there in Lack and the Reef, but it's not being used. You know.
Yes.
Yeah.
There was a man called Knight who was the engineer for the North Coast Road, and he spent a good deal of his time previous to that in Binghamstown area, and he's written fairly extensively about this system. There's another man called Eston Evans, and he came and did an investigation of the Lacan ones, and I think that was about 1927, and that's the last authoritative thing that I know about concerning the whole Rundale system.
Yeah. Each village now had they were a whole unit, and they had all their craftsmen there. I think you know something about the weavers, how it worked.
Yeah, well, no, there were linen and woolen weavers.
Yeah.
But for the linen weavers, I don't think there was one to every village, but certainly there would have been one to every 2 or 3 town lands. And then quite a number of the linen weavers came in, or the families came in down from the north around 1795 and brought their looms with them. Ordinarily now for the woolen weavers, the women of the house would get the wool. It had to be washed and scoured first. From there on then it had to be carded. Then it had to be spun into single thread.
They do that though with the spinning wheel, wouldn't they? The timber one we see today.
Yeah, well, there was a special woolen wheel, which was a bigger wheel now than the flax wheel.
Yeah.
But a lot of them used to use the flax wheel for spinning too.
Yeah.
Then there were single threads. That they had also what they call a warping machine then for doubling or even trebling. They were usually double threads. Then generally what they used to do was make it into big balls, which would be about 2 or 3 stone weight. They would be maybe 18 inches to 2 feet in diameter. They were brought to the weaver then, usually on in a donkey and creels, or sometimes just tied onto the straddle. The weaver then, I think, had to take it into a hanks and then set it up on his loom.
Yeah.
And the weaving itself was a slow and fairly complicated process. And like every other craft, some men were better at it than others. Then, as the old people say, with respects to you, they used to collect urine, and that was part of the treatment for felting or thickening the wool.
Yes, the Connemara had a name for that. Mosh that I used to hear them talking about. What that is? Collected in barrels.
That's it.
Right?
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And where the fields then, where they spread it out, that would be the bleaching fields, more or less.
Well, yes, that would be mostly now for the flax.
Yeah.
The flax. There were tours or touri.
That's right. There's got the tour back near Ballycastle there. It's supposed to be named after that particular thing.
Ah, yes.
And there's a tour in down Rathlacken too. Maybe. Maybe it was named after it.
And it's sad to think that even the cards for the carding of the wool have nearly disappeared off the scene. Another thing about the cards, way back in troubled times, in land agitation and things like that, the punishment for a man who didn't conform was to give him a rub of the cards, which was a savage thing on his bare back.
Oh yeah, kind of savage punishment. Okay. Each community in those days, they were self-sufficient, weren't they?
Or, more or less. Well, they had to be. If they weren't, they just had to do without.
They had the blacksmith, the shoemaker, the weaver, and for the doctor they had these people with charms, hadn't they? Going away back there, whatever.
Yes.
What did they call them? Some kind of doctors. It wasn't quite doctors.
Settlers anyway.
Old settlers, yeah. And 7 sons and the likes, weren't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
And people then who had cures, and there were animal doctors as well who were There's a photograph now of a flax wheel, and this thing, that was the pedal thing. There's a kind of a spindle out here with a little attachment. You can't see it on this one, and pressing that starts the wheel to spin. This then is the spool that goes round, and this is for holding the thread. You can raise it or lower it. That's a flax wheel. Now there's a woolen wheel, which was a much bigger one. Now, and as I said, lots of people used to use the flax wheel for spinning yarn as well, for spinning the woolen threads. Over here now is the warp. This thing collected the hanks, and it made it into hanks. Now, there's a size and a weight for every one of those, and I don't know.
Did that spin now? Did any of them spin?
Yes, this one. Yeah.
Well, they're spinning fast now or slow?
Slow. It would be fairly slow to take up this. But normally, when they wanted blankets made and so on, as far as I can remember now, they used to wind the thread into large balls, which would be nearly that size now. And as I say, there would be 2 to 3 stone weight.
Yeah.
And they knew the number of pounds of thread which it would take to make an ordinary blanket.
Yeah.
Now, the linen ones, I don't know exactly how they used to do the thread. But again, it was brought to the weaver usually, and he did the weaving part of it. But I think that the linen one was in hanks like this.
Yeah. Right.
Well, to rotate that now, there was an attachment on to the from here to the pedals. This went up and down, and it caused this then to rotate.
Yeah. Would it be on that?
On the centre there, on the axle part of it.
Yeah. So that was the story of weaving.
Part of it, only a little bit of it.
Yeah.
Sadly, now we haven't a photograph there of the cards.
Yeah. The only thing that's missing, I think, out of here, isn't it?
Yes, but there's now with linen, there's an awful lot more. Besides that, before it reached this stage, it had to be pulled. Usually in July, they knew when the flowers were blue.
Yeah.
Then it was buried in a bog hole until it rotted, until the outside film rotted. Then they knew the length of time to leave it there. It was taken up then to be partially dried. After that then, it had to be beaten to break this outer sheath to get at the strands of linen. And then, I can't remember now, that was beetling.
There was flax ponds, there wasn't ponds for wetting too, wasn't there?
That's it. That's it. Then the beetling kind of broke the outer sheath and separated the fibres. Then it had to be clothed and hackled. I'm not sure which came first now, the hackling or the clothes, but I think clothes and hackles. And then at that stage it was tied together in bundles of single fibres. Now the spinning process took over from there.
Yeah.
and I'm a bit uncertain from there on.
Well, how was the finished product like? Was it something like the woolen material? Or would it be
There
that
again-
close?
There again, you see, when they were spinning, they could spin a heavy thread or a light one,
Oh, yeah.
depending on what they wanted to use it for.
Yeah.
Now, for towels and sheets and things like that,
Yeah.
they had a fine thread. The thing we forgot to mention earlier now is about dyes, natural dyes that they used to use for the wool. And I see here in a magazine they talk about logwood dye. There was also dye that they used to make out of certain herbs and lichens and things, depending on the colour. Black was the one that was mostly used. There are a number of others as well. Also, we forgot to mention about homespun suits, clothing of various kinds. Bawning would be kind of a cross between a waistcoat and a coat.
No, it wasn't the material though.
Well, yes, the sometimes the front, the part of it that would be seen, would be shop cloth, as they used to call it.
Yeah.
And the rest of it then would be made out of the woolen or out of the homespun.
Oh, yeah.
And the elbows would wear, so the sleeves could be replaced. The back would wear too, if they were carrying turf or anything else. And in fact, there's a wish about long life. May you live so long that the skin of a gooseberry would make a back for your waistcoat.
Yeah. Well, this was it called a waistcoat or a shan vest in those days? Did they call them vests?
Well, the vest was the ordinary waistcoat. I think,
Ah,
without it,
yeah.
But the Bornean, I think they used to. It was what they used to call sleeved waistcoat.
Ah, yeah.
Something. There's a little description here now. The back and sleeves were of grey flannel, 6 buttons in front, and they are said to have been a nice, warm, tidy garment. Then the suits, especially for boys and young men, they were made also by a local tailor. Now here again we're on to a new idea. Tailors had apprentices, and to kind of qualify, get out of their apprenticeship and become a fully qualified tailor, they had to go through this stage of being journeyman tailors.
Yeah.
And usually they went round and they stayed in a house. Now they picked a house where there weren't kids, because if there were children, they'd be looking at their patterns and maybe losing their needles and thread and so on. So anybody who wanted a suit made, they brought the makings, including the trimmings. Now that would be back linings, buttons, thread, all the rest of it. And then they made a bargain with the tailor. And usually when the tailor was at work, it was a kind of a holiday period, because he had all the news of the countryside with him. And in the evenings when the work was finished, there was maybe music or there would be storytelling or something, and certainly they would have got information from the journeyman tailor. Now a lot of the tailors might have been people who had broken legs or maybe weren't very healthy.
Yeah.
And this was a job that didn't require a lot of physical strength.
Yeah.
And some of the tailors also had a reputation for being short-tempered.
That's right. I've heard about that too.
Then they went around with a big smoothing iron, which they used to call a goose. I think that was because of the shape of the handle at the top.
Yeah.
It was like a goose's neck.
Yeah.
That was a heavy one for pressing.
Was he called journeyman now because of all the travelling he did?
That's right.
Yeah.
But then you had journeyman carpenters as well. They went from place to place.
Well, it would be, it would be one house in a village he would operate in until he had all the village clothes. Ah, yeah.
Usually.
Yeah.
Now, in some cases, I would say a man with a growing family, their clothes would wear off quicker, and he could have stayed with them. But if he could, he picked a house where, as I said, there wouldn't be children to interfere with his work.
Yeah.
And when he could patterns, or there would be mislaying things, or losing them, or so forth. Another thing also that we forgot to mention earlier was this thing about quilting, and that was usually a kind of a community exercise as well. And the women of the neighbourhood came in, and it was a slow and tedious and an expert job. And if you see some of those quilts might still survive, and the the sewing is expert. They prided themselves on being able to make all the stitches of equal length, and the stitches were done criss-cross. Now, I'll quote this little bit from the article I mentioned before. Quilts were made from flannel dyed red. This was packet dye sold in shops. 3 or 4 widths were sewn together, backed with an old blanket usually, and quilted. Every village had a quilting frame. A couple of women would sit at it, stitching the 2 thicknesses together in a zigzag fashion. A girl getting married always got bedclothes, blankets, a quilt, bed linen, towels, etc. to take to her new house. This was called the bag of auras. That's you know.
This was written by, what's her name again?
Oh yes, Liz Hagerty. She's Canon Miles' housekeeper.
At present.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she comes from and she'd have gone to the trouble of checking every single item of that.
Oh, yeah.
This is in the Ballycastle Parish magazine.
Very good. Foghill, named after the underwood, or under the wood. 428 acres. And there's the spot where St. Patrick was supposed to have met the Foghill fisherman. And here is a giant's grave. And there's the road that runs through Foghill Cross, the one that goes on to Banagher. And this is the road that comes down from Braced and Turin down towards the Strand, running right through Foghill. And there is the Strand, where the Clonalhan River enters itself. Tobernaray, King's Well or Queen's Well, the Standing Stole called Lac Balbini, and Tobernagreve, the well of the palms or the branches. And here's the Lisheen burial place. Foghill, the townland named under the wood. And this is Upper Foghill. This fence running down here to the right is the boundary, the southern boundary, running away over there to the east. And there are some of the houses in Foghill Upper. Now a fort, or this road runs through a fort, which is an unusual thing. And there we see another fort, but it's not in Foghill. The wall there is the boundary. Runs away down there, and then it turns right when it meets the stream, way down at the townland of Clonalhan. There's a view of the Foghill Marsh. And this is a view from the townland of Clonalhan. The river runs across here. Right of that is Foghill Marsh. And there's the Foghill, the Clonalhan River. Right of that is Foghill Marsh. And down there is the mound where St. Patrick met the Foghill fisherman, and he asked him for a salmon, and he told him he'd give him the next one. And the next one was bigger, and he told him he'd give him the next one. Finally, after 3 salmon, St. Patrick was supposed to have thrown a stone into the river and said that no more salmon will be caught in this river until that stone was washed ashore. It happened, we are told. Tradition has it down on this mound here. Now, left of that river is Killigary
Killigary Marsh, and in the background is the ruins of Castellakin. And here's the river where it all happened. Probably St. Patrick's first landing place in this area. Now this is an area here for sheep raising, this marshy, rushy area. Donovan describes, it's called from the Irish word Foghill, meaning underwood. In 1838 this townland had 439.5 acres and was owned by J. Burke of Ballina. He let it to tenants at 50 shillings an acre. 160 acres of this was uncultivated, probably the marsh down there. There were 47 families living in this townland, all in poor condition. It was in the parish of Kilcummin. In 1856, the immediate lessor was Sir W. Roger Palmer Baronet. The tenants were Anthony O'Hara, Patrick O'Hara, Bridget Kelly, Martin Jordan, Catherine Jordan, Martin O'Malley, Patrick Cooper, Anthony Duffy, Bridget Mahedy. Sir William Roger Palmer Baronet had a cottage here and no land. Patrick Malley, Andrew Malley, Thomas Malley, James Bredican, Michael Hoban, John Tierney, Thomas Kearney, Anthony Reeve, Michael Gillespie, William O'Hara, Anthony Morton, Nicholas Collins, Michael Mc Hale, Martin McNulty, Patrick Taher, Thomas McHale, Nicholas Collins, Honor Collins, Michael Gillespie, Bartholomew Finnerty. Nicholas Collins again. He had a pound here. Bridget Hughes, Anthony Kelly and Nicholas Collins. Now some of these tenants' names occur over and over again. There were 65 tenants here in 1856. They probably moved in during the famine times to get fish, cockles, sand eels, shellfish, etc. down by the strand and the seashore when food failed them wherever they were in townlands close by, because there were only 47 families here in 1838 and 65 in 1856. Some of them I think also were brought in by Reverend Peter Neary. The present day map shows Foghill as having 428 acres. It must have lost some 20s. Now looking down at from Foghill Upper. This is Foghill Crossroads. On the left here was Mc Hale's, where Dr. McNulty used to have a clinic. On the right here was Earley's, the carpenters. And on the left here, as we turn down, was the Collins's Forge. Now we're going down to what is called Tubberree near Franklochnies. In its water, Donovan says St. Patrick is said to have baptized King Earley and 900 of his people. Down here to the right. Tubberree. And that's it right there. In pretty bad condition today, polluted. Condition today, polluted and filthy. Which one?
This one and that one.
The two big ones there?
Yeah.
They were the rocks that were around it?
Yeah, so you haven't been taking me?
No. Tell me, was it you that did that job on the well there?
No.
Who did it?
It's Pat Murphy.
Oh, Pat Murphy. Did the villagers use it for spring water or
They
what?
did. It was used all for spring water.
Yeah, yeah. Of course you have all the pipe water now, haven't you? Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you now that if that was clean and clean and clean. That used to dry these late years.
Did it?
Used
Yeah. Out of stone.
It is sure like.
Yeah. So they were the three that made up the well
There
here?
were the three now and they were going around here in a circle.
Yeah, yeah.
And that wasn't... There was one within there now and there was one here and there was one out here.
Yeah, yeah.
And this wasn't around here on the wall, on the This wall wasn't in the tower.
Oh, so I know, that was a later addition, wasn't it?
But they done up that. It was about down to that.
Yeah, yeah,
There was an old house there. There was a house named man named Morton living there.
yeah.
He was in the castle.
Oh, yeah,
Timber post there.
yeah.
I'm not sure now what it's called.
A pound or not?
A pound or not. But I have not talked.
You did?
I did.
So it was around then?
Oh, it was somewhere around here.
Yeah.
And there's
Earley the carpenter,
that's right.
up here,
Up there now.
where the
Up above the white wall is.
yeah.
That's where the captain was.
What's the other side of the road?
He was on the left hand side doing up.
Ah, yeah. It'd be in there.
Yeah.
And down here is the site of Collins's Ford.
That's where the forge is now straight from the pole there.
Yeah.
I know the side of the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the pound.
The pound was supposed to be around there at
Yeah.
that holler.
And further down then was Hobin's where the
Hobart the tailor then was down further.
yeah. And still further down Magaruri came from it, did it?
Yeah, me how good, yeah.
To John Malius. Would he be below John Malius?
You'd be able to say he'd be below John Mary's house. That village you see has changed.
It has. Would he be below Frank Murphy's?
No, but I tell you, like, when you, the state of Frank Murphy now,
There's a little road going
you
to
know
the
the road
right.
is going up.
Yeah.
Well, he'd be up there now on the right hand side, about middle way. He wouldn't be all, they wouldn't be living all together now with his Merton Panels.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
that?
There's the site of the old forge, the Collins's Forge. And up here on the left was Pat Haley the carpenter, and further up on the left was Mary Lynn the dressmaker. Now we're going down to Foghill Lower, and on the right of this bush of briars here was the pound, owned by Nicholas Collins, in here to the right. Now, here on the right is one of the Collins's houses. This village was all Collinses at one time, carpenters and blacksmiths. In Foghill Lower now. And this house here was Hobin's. They were tailors, somewhere around here. And this house here is not a hotel, it's a residence belonging to the Collinses. At the back is the last of the Collins blacksmiths, John. And on the left here was a carpenter, Collins also, Mike. Now this was the O'Malley house, or where the O'Malleys were. Well, it was to the left of this. They were masons. Also joined on to the old house was the Macaruri house. Both houses joined on together around this corner here. Now in front there, as we're taking the turn, was another well that supplied the whole village, or the lower part of the village. Now we're moving on the road, a new road that was made in about 1940, going over to Carntrasna. On the left here is Connors. And on the right in here, well on the left now as we're looking at it, was where Mc Hale lived. Somewhere built onto that new house or near it, down there. Now this road here is a relatively new road going on to Carntrasna. Down there is Loch Balbini. That Marcus has been here already, says the Battle of Lash in 975. And over here is Tubber na Grieve, the Well of the Branches, the Blessed Well, St. Patrick's Well. Now down here is the Lisheen. You see the mound of stones, a round fort of some type or another, just south of the Blessed Well. And it was a burial ground. We see a tombstone there. People were buried there. I think infants were buried there that were unbaptized. Maybe big people were also buried there.
And here in front of it is another kind of mound. I don't exactly know what this one is, or what it was about. Maybe a cromlech of some type or another. The boundary wall goes up here somewhere, up to the right there. I think it's that stone wall that goes away up there. And here's another mound. Yes, there's one across this fence here. Now this area down here is important in Lacan because this is where St. Patrick was supposed to have first started his mission around here. And this area here was supposed to be a wooded area all up as far as Palmerstown Bridge. About that well there at Franklin, you were telling me there about...
They took water out of the well, say, for putting on tyres.
Yeah.
Today, and it'll be dry, tomorrow.
Even though there was plenty of water?
No matter how plenty the water is dry.
Or how scarce it be?
No, it makes no difference, it's dry.
Is it dry?
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
So that wasn't the well at all for the village?
No, for the village above use water.
Yeah.
They use.
Oh, the water for the village below came from that well there?
Just below here, that's
Yeah.
Frank Murphy.
What about this tunnel we're talking about in there?
The tunnel?
Yeah.
Oh, the tunnel is there in St. Martin Connor's land now, it is.
Yeah.
I haven't went back myself small, but I'd be afraid to go back in.
So you go up the road here and you find the little bridge?
Yeah. Just the other side of the bridge and then
Yeah.
cross in and
Yeah.
you're only about 100 yards from it.
Is it down the field straight then?
Yeah, down the field straight.
Oh, would that be the mound of stones?
Yeah, that's for the old heapy stones.
Oh, good. I was looking for that. Yeah. Well, Foghill has changed now since you were a young fella, hasn't it?
It's changed Foghill since I was small.
Yeah. Was there as many sheep in it as what there is today?
No. Very little sheep.
Yeah.
Very little sheep.
And the two houses was fashioned out of that.
Yeah.
Goodness sake, gable to gable.
Gable to gable. One gable was one roof on each of them.
Well.
The two roofs was beaten.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this is where he was born and raised?
That's very well known, Sean.
Yeah.
That's no very well shown.
Do you remember what his father's name was?
Shorter.
Shorter.
Yeah.
And he had brothers and sisters too.
He had. Now he had father and he had two brothers more. John Rogers. Sean Rogers.
Sean Muffler, right.
Yeah.
Well, he used to come on holidays then.
Oh, he used them very often.
Is that?
Yeah, Phil and Pat used to come down and Pat wasn't there, and he used to have a rifle because we used to be down there at the strand shoot with the rifle.
Oh, yeah.
We used to like.
You don't remember the last time he came down, do you?
I don't know.
50 years ago?
Ah, it is. Well, it is and more.
Yeah.
We have that house built 50 years and he didn't come down here since.
Ah, I see.
We got it. We got that the two gate, and then we threw the whole house out.
Yeah.
Yes. Well,
And
did
so
the daughter ever come? He had a daughter, I believe.
Well, I must see the
When
daughter.
she used to come with him, like.
No.
Yes.
But she was in it, I heard.
Yes.
Yeah.
You say that, all right.
I did sure, like.
One of them was his mother, wasn't they?
Yes, she was Cooper.
Nancy Cooper.
Yes, Nancy Cooper.
That's nice. Miss Padden, I think she said the name of the teacher. Did you ever hear of her?
No, I didn't.
It seems she was teaching somewhere here
Was
anyway, I think.
it must be in Balhouse she was teaching.
I think he said Turin, but I wouldn't be sure.
Well, the old Cooper man, her father would have a school for a short time up in Turin. You didn't ever hear of that, did you?
I didn't.
No.
I never heard about the school in Turin.
No.
But there was 3 schools back there.
Was there?
The school was changed and this is the third place it's in now.
I see. Well.
Where the hall is, there was one. On the side of the hall, the side of the pub, there was
Yeah.
another school there.
That's right.
That's
Yes,
where the old school was. That's where
Yeah.
they all went to school, the side of the pub.
Yes, the road.
That's where Mc Hale went too, was it?
Yes, but you couldn't say nothing to him. Only Irish, all Irish he had, you see.
Oh, yes.
He used to have a copy stick with him. If you spoke a word English, he'd kill you.
Is that it?
Oh, you'd want to be got out of his way.
Yeah. Family, the marriages, they were tradesmen and builders, weren't they?
Was.
They were.
He father,
Yeah, what was his name?
Tom
Tom.
O'Malley.
Did he build many of the houses
Oh,
around?
he did, and the great. I'm still on Tom Warden.
Oh, yeah. Did they build any big houses like the parish priest's house or any houses or schools or
Oh,
anything?
they did.
Which ones now?
They've been Pat McLean's been part of that two-story
Good, yeah. Any other one?
They built Morris about the crossroads.
Morris?
That John Barn had.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Well, his son, Jim,
yeah,
and Johnny Hayes had built that.
yeah,
But he was alive. He was alive that time.
yeah, yeah,
My father.
yeah.
And Sean, and then beyond there in the Cashlacken and
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
He
Did
built- They built one house or two there in the Cashlacken and the house over there.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't you know, so,
Indeed I do.
two rulers.
Indeed I do, yeah, yeah.
What he was, the captain of Shorely.
Martin and Mike.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Michael was his son.
Wasn't there a carpenter further up the road in Earley?
Martin Earley.
Or Pat, was it?
Martin Earley and there was two of them. There was one of them was an old man and the other was a young man.
Yeah. They were up there near where Leonard's is today.
Just for the war,
Yeah.
just now for another day.
Yeah, yeah.
That's for the war, surely.
So that's,
Oh, he had.
this is the cave back the road.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Well, you able to stand up back in it?
Oh, you wouldn't be able to stand up. But thought you could go back now creeping like back in it
Yeah.
a long way.
From here to the gate.
Oh, they say to that fair, a long way fair, they're saying.
Yeah.
Going
Well,
up there, the road, you go back here of that road there.
yeah.
There's, they say.
How far down did they say it goes? Does it go down to the Lisheen or down that direction?
It's the side of the Lisheen.
Yeah, but which direction is it going in?
Up straight is coming.
Up from the Lisheen?
Up from the cove itself, you see. It's coming up to the river, up that way.
Oh,
I don't
see.
know how it's turned to,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but there's flags in it, it's built.
Mm-hmm.
There's flags in it. Couple class overhead, and built
Yeah.
up with stones.
Is there a floor in it?
No, so, well, there's a great small stones back in it, you know.
Yeah. There's no flagged floor, no?
No, I know, you wouldn't get the flag floor at all, sure.
And it's not wide?
Yes, it is.
You could creep in it. You could
You
creep in
could.
it easy. Yeah.
It is, it must be 3 feet wide, or 4.
Is it? Ah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. yeah.
If it was the stone sticking out, it's very deep.
Oh, is it?
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
How far did you go back in? 20 yards?
Well, about 20 years. And
Was
it's
it getting any deeper then? Could you stand up in a ranting, no?
well, you wouldn't be able, no.
And I did
But
the back out.
when I was back there, it got a bit narrow behind.
Yeah.
But I used to have a dog and he used to go back, and he'd be gone half an hour before he'd go back. Well, there used to be rabbits going back in it.
Ah, yes.
Yeah. Which direction do you think it was going in?
It's coming up straight, Sean, up straight from where it is,
For the river?
for the river,
Okay,
up for the road.
that's it.
This one was here in the village.
The Blessed Well.
Yes.
That could be
Well,
the
that was it on that, well, you know.
down there at the corner. Well,
Yeah.
that well down there at the corner is supplying water for you, isn't it?
Well,
For the,
it was 15 houses before they bought for water, that's right.
was it?
There's no one top of water now further out.
I know.
But it's a pity it wouldn't be cleaned up and a pump was round it or something.
Yeah, yeah.
But,
It's better than the one that was up there at Loughney's, wasn't it?
it never dried.
Yeah.
Never dried. And it's as cold as cold.
For the butter making, they use it for the butter.
Oh,
Yeah,
butter.
yeah.
It was doing all that houses now further.
Yeah, yeah.
It was surely.
Tell me, was there any special name on the one up at Frank Loughney's house? Poverty away? No?
No,
No.
no.
He says he's 85 years old.
Cemented up.
Yeah. Like the other one, isn't it? Supplying water to the whole village.
Yes, that is very, very cool. In fact, they used to do that, I think, sometimes for the butter making. To make sure that it was doubly cooled. Draw the water in the evening. And if the butter, which is summertime especially, in warm weather, if the butter was too soft to make it up, they'd wait till evening time and then bring a can of water from the well and to, that is to inherit it.
Yeah. Michal McRory, Patrick Pearce's gardener, came from Foghill, from that house up there where it was situated a long time ago. He wrote a book about this area. He called it Le Lin Moige, first published in 1944. His grandfather was Patrick Cooper, who was brought in by Reverend Peter Neary and got land in Foghill. He taught some kind of school in Bristol for a while. This is Cooper did. English and Greek were the subjects before he moved into Killala. One of his daughters, Nancy, married George Rogers. Oh yes, John referred to him as Shorter there. Rory was one of their sons. He writes of Foghill houses in his mother's time. Windows were tall and narrow, too small to let thieves come through. Yos, that means yeoman soldiers, dressed as white boys, often raided tenants' houses. One night some of these Yos were assaulted by the real white boys, and 2 Yos were killed. 6 white boys had to go on their keeping, as they say, to France. One of these was called Colonel Kane. In his house in his young days up here, in Foghill, were pigs under the bed. 8 people lived in the house, healthy. There was a litter of bonnets at the foot of the bed. 1 cow and 2 calves were tied on the horse. The house was cleaned every morning. He claimed Fianna Éireann spent their time on Lacan Strand way down here. Single combats, he says, were fought here. And he also talks of burials being way down there in that direction at the Green Hill. In 1641, Foghill belonged to Richard Philbin. 244, well almost 245 acres of it, according to Symington's Book of Survey and Distribution. Down here, he calls Trelshawn. It's a narrow place where people are able to cross by foot. Even when the tide is up, you can get across there. And he talks of Gulmacmore fighting a big battle down there with Jarrag Moore. This must be the same character that Paddy Caulfield writes about in his Irishlower there on Ballycastle.
Out of Downpatrick.
Yeah, out of Downpatrick. And that he was drowned out there. Well, McRory claims he was killed here and buried somewhere down there, maybe the Green Hill. So,
was there any kind of an opening then, or just that it fell in, it collapsed?
Oh no, there was a big opening, a very big opening, but your man Hill stones in the opening, you see.
yeah. Well, the opening was going down into the ground, wasn't it?
No, there was a good slope at that time, a good slope, you see, in front of the opening. So he healed it all the stones into the... It must be nearly all filled up now, son, the way down there.
No, it's going down now.
Well, I passed through now and I didn't even look. I need to pass that one now.
Could you stand up when you went back in it?
You wouldn't know.
No.
Yeah, you wouldn't know.
What would it be, 3 or 4 feet high? 3 feet high?
Well, it would be 3 feet anyway. But I don't know how was it further back. There were people that went back further than I did, you know.
And there was no little rooms or little caves or
I
little...
was sure anyone didn't go that first one.
Yeah.
You'd be afraid that time.
Yeah.
Wouldn't chance.
Or was there ever a fort anywhere out this side of it?
Fort? No, only the fort that's round it.
Oh, there's a fort round?
I know him. You see the Cockahane now behind?
Oh yeah, on the far end.
It broke down. Well, imagine you careful, didn't it?
Yeah.
It broke down now, the field the side of the Cockahane.
Yes. Oh, I know it.
I'd say to be to the left of the Cockahane.
I know it, I know where it is.
Careful, didn't it? And they were saying like that was the same lead.
The same tunnel.
The same tunnel.
Yeah.
That had right or wrong.
Yeah, he closed up that about 2 years ago.
Well, did I?
He did.
I seen it when it was open now.
Yeah.
Well, I would be doubtful about that, you know, that should go that far, but
That
maybe.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, they'll tell you that they will. They made out the one over there in Castletown was leading a long way.
Yeah.
But I just say, I see people were afraid to go back in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But where would you get a flash lamp that time?
That's right.
Oh, you wouldn't.
That's right. That's in the Lisheen.
Yeah.
No big people.
No
No.
big people. But there was I seen a few stones standing in it.
There is a headstone in it, all right.
There was a few, but
Was there?
the same as the gathering off the land, you know, the stone from people that seed land, they were banking it.
Now this is the fort, that's where the tunnel is. And there's a little fort here. We can see the extent of it. Built up with rocks, piled in by the people of the land.
The outer edge of the fort, I think. You can see down there the beginning of the escape passage. Now, the construction of this one is a bit unusual. It goes out here, it would have gone through that fence out the other side to complete the circle. But then when you come inside here, there's another wall which is about 2 feet wide, and it curves away to the right here, and you can see part of it on the other side. You can see the curve there where it curves away to the right. Now there's a depression down there, and that could be part of the escape chamber where the roof has collapsed. Another possibility, except that it doesn't exactly fit. It looks like the wall of a lime kiln that somebody in later years started to burn lime on top of this lishing, which again would be most unusual because people had a kind of a superstitious respect for them, and they thought there were places where the fairies lived, and the less you had to do with them, the better.
Yeah. This is what they call the tunnel.
Yes. And from a man now who was down in it, he said it was about 4 feet high, or maybe 3 to 4 feet high, same width, covered over with big flags.
Yeah.
And he said it went for the river.
Yeah.
Well, that would make sense if it's an escape passage. The first thing they'd run short of was water, and that was the usual thing in these farmers' houses. That if they were attacked by, say, by wild animals or other people, if they were besieged,
they would move.
had a secret way down for water.
Yeah.
Would you be able to pick up? There's a line running down there through the field. Halfway over then there's another one. Over in the other patch there's also another one. And these would be the divisions between the sections of Rundale. Those are what they call the quay lodges.
Yeah.
And you can see them there. Now on a sunny day they come out better.
Yeah. So this was all a Rundale Kilo outfit down
yes,
here.
I say all of this land, yes, was divided. And I think in the other field you can see another one. You can see
Another one runs down here.
Yes. Yes, and they would be there, I'd say, from before some of those fences were made.
One over here is Lisheen, and there's the remains of another one over there.
Yeah, so that's 3 of them within about 200 yards.
And some say that the tunnel from here goes over in that direction. And far out towards the Cockahea, or left of that house there on the top of the hill. They'll be up there in that direction.
Well, that would need checking again.
Oh, indeed.
And here now, you have Foghill, and you can see 2 clusters of houses. The upper village and the one lower down. And it's a very ancient name. And it gets its importance from the fact that it's mentioned in St. Patrick's Confessions. Well, that's the name of the document that he wrote. There are 2 genuine documents concerning St. Patrick. One would be this confession, and the other one would be the letter to Corotica. And I'd like to quote you here now from an article by Bishop MacDonald, out of the confession. There, that's after his escape to Britain, quoting, "I saw in the night the vision of a man whose name was Victoricus, coming as it were from Ireland with countless letters, and he gave me one of them, and I read the opening words of the letter, which were the voice of the Irish. And as I read the beginning of the letter, I thought that at the same moment I heard the voice of those who were beside the wood of Foghill, which is near the western sea. And thus did they cry, as though with one mouth, we ask you, holy youth, to come and walk among us once more." Now, there's more written about Silva Fogluti, and Oh, well, it's turned into at least half a dozen different interpretations. What we can say about it is that there's an ancient tradition which goes back a long, long way to say that it was from here that St. Patrick heard the voices of the Irish. Now, part of the puzzle is when he said, "Come again and walk among us," which inferred that he had been here before.
Yeah.
Now, if he was a slave at Mish, it's difficult. I don't know how you would answer that one. And again, these are where the answers come, and they're different. Now, where he was captured and where he lived as a slave, even where he was born, all those are disputed questions.
Yeah. Well, now, the heights over Foghill there were supposed to be wooded, because Foghill is named as Underwood Foghill, so that would be the height.
True. Well, in fact, some would say that the whole area, from here to Killala, past Killala, out by Crosspatrick, that all of that was a wooded area of ancient oak.
And had glades in and out here and there, breaks in the forest, wasn't there?
True, yes, yes. Well, that could be. But as I say, the question is rather complicated.
Yeah.
And you know, like Shakespeare said, wasn't it he, that fools rush in sometimes where angels fear to tread.
Right.
And there's a lot of angels on this ground.
Yeah, well, some of them are, as you mentioned there, Bishop Thomas MacDonald, and there's a man called Bury and Carley and O'Reilly and Hanson that have forwarded their theories on St. Patrick and Silver for Clutie and Ackle, isn't it?
Yes. Oh, yeah, as I say, you named at least 6 names there, and each one has his own.
Yeah.
And that's not all of them.
Well, he's supposed to have escaped too from Killala, isn't he?
Well, there again, you see, it depends on what you mean by the Western Sea. Some of them would claim that, having been born in England or Scotland, that for him the Western Sea would be the Irish Sea.
Yeah.
Now, maybe not.
Well, he was on a boat, we read, carrying greyhounds or dogs for the continent, and I believe Killala had a market for these in France or somewhere in those days, hadn't it?
That's true. But you see, there again, now, the ones who don't agree with that would say, why come this far west to go to France? That it would be much easier to go from Wexford or from that side of the country. So, no matter what you put up, there's an opposite side to it.
Yeah.
But St. Patrick himself said, yes, he escaped by ship. There were dons. There were greyhounds, or wolfhounds, I suppose you'd say. Now, it's absolutely certain that St. Patrick crossed the Shannon at least 3 times.
Yeah, well, there was trade from Killala too. Killala was a trading town even in those days.
Yeah, yes, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. In fact, we could even venture further and say that long, long before St. Patrick's time, 2,000 years before that, some of the first people to arrive in Ireland came along the west coast.
Yeah.
And there's evidence of that in some of the monuments or artifacts and so on that they left along here.
Yeah.
Like one of the professors who used to teach us in Maynooth, when he came to difficult subjects, he'd say, "Gentlemen, we're in the bog again today." And we're a bit in the bog now. This article by Bishop MacDonald is in the annual of the North Mayo Historical and Archaeological Society for 1982. And he sums up there something about the sources and the different people who'd written and the different views they had and their interpretations of what silver for Clutie meant. And there's about 15 pages in it. There's devotion to St. Patrick here. There's a holy well. There's a pillar stone, a standing stone, which goes back and was probably Christianized after St. Patrick came. So the devotion to St. Patrick and the tradition, as I say, the Western one is the oldest.
Yeah, there's a lot of schools named after him too, I think.
True.
Yeah.
True. So, we can sum it up as any of the others.
Yeah.
And it's older than most.
This house here is Farrell's, a Foghill. At the back of it was a shop that serviced the village for the townland of Foghill for years and years. Here also lived in the 40s and 50s John Burke, who taught in Carramore Lacan National School and who also became a divisional inspector. Over there was an old house on the left where Dr. McNulty used to hold his clinics. townland of Foghill goes away over here, this road. It's both sides of the road. Now we've reached the boundary here. This is the ditch going up here, the fence. Over there is Foghill. Here's the fence going up, then winding way out to the right here and going across, and then turning left of that tractor there and out to the top of the hill. The tractor is in Cardentrasna. Left of the ditch is Foghill, the townland of Foghill. And here we see the boundary on the other side, that ditch going away up there. On the right here is Foghill. On the left I think is Cashel. Townland of Foghill. Sedimentary rock. Not limestone.
No, it's
Not shale either, is it?
it's sedimentary. It may be a very old rock. It could be a very old rock. It could be, in fact, these could be certain layers of lava.
An igneous rock from the volcano.
Rock.
Yeah. Volcanic type.
The volcanic type of rock.
Yeah.
Possibly, or sedimentary. Is that the volcanic or sedimentary?
I don't know where they got these stones, because in my lifetime I've never seen, or heard of them in quarries getting them that length.
No, and
That's probably going down a few feet.
not typical of the stone that you get around it.
Here.
There is a rock outcrop which stretches from the seashore at Foghill coming and goes up right up to Brest and up that way. And it's not typical of the rock you find in that. That rock up there. So it may well be that these stones they were quarried in some place, not there.
Maybe many miles away too.
Many miles away and transported. Now, we mentioned earlier about the possibility of it being connected to St. Patrick.
Yeah.
I doubt it very much. St. Patrick was a busy man Christianizing pagan country people. And I don't think he would personally be too bothered about putting up stones to commemorate what he did. It could be done by maybe some of us.
Yeah, and if they did, they'd have crosses or something, or there's some Christian sign on, wouldn't they?
I'm inclined to go for the Ordnance Survey. First Ordnance Survey was started in 1828 and the team here in this area was a man called O'Connor and a man called Donovan. Now Donovan was headquartered in Castlebar, or up there, and O'Connor was the man in the field. And it was known as the Down Survey. The reason it's called the Down Survey is the man who actually superintended the exercise, his instructions to the people put out into the field was to put everything down.
Yeah.
So they put everything down, even things like this, and groups of stones on the field and cromlechs and things like that. And when Donovan and O'Connor were historians in their own right, I would say yes, the reason for these stones. And he associated them with battles fought and won or lost, and he says in relation to this particular stone that it was to commemorate the defeat of the Danes. The Danes tried over many years, and the Northmen or Vikings tried made several attempts to gain a foothold in Ireland. One of them was here in Lacken Bay. And the date he gives, or somebody gives, I'm not sure now, a recollection, it's many years since I've read it, was about 985, maybe 25 years before Clontarf. Thereabouts. And that the stone was put up to commemorate the defeat of the Danes. At that battle. And O'Connor gives
no weight at all to the theory that it's in any way associated with St. Patrick's missionary activity.
Yeah. Now, that was called the Battle of Lacken, wasn't it?
Yes.
No. There's also a burial ground way down here.
Yes, well, he refers to that in his letters, and his theory was the one at Green Hill.
Yeah.
In those days, they were quite chivalrous in battle. They'd call it truce to bury their dead.
Yeah.
Even at the end, they took hostages, very likely of the Danes, and let them go home about their business.
Yeah.
And the hostage was kept as a guarantee of them. So they buried one group, the Rains or the Irish buried in the Green Hill, and the other side buried over in a place called Puller Ribble, which is out on the head of Kilcummin there.
It is, yeah.
A scalp.
Yeah.
That's a theory.
It's more than a theory, because I've seen the red stand and...
They were burial ground undoubtedly.
Yeah.
But whether whether the burials that arose from the people who were killed in battle here. And the battles in those days would be pretty bloody affairs.
Yeah.
It was an axe and
sword and
knife,
yeah.
Had stone axes.
Yeah.
And with the Battle of Lacken, the two burial grounds, the ties in, and with
information from an old Mrs. Franklin there, but she wasn't too accurate. She said that she thought that it was the bodies of invaders coming in here that were defeated, that were buried down there at the Green Hill. Now, she hadn't heard of Donovan or of that other man you mentioned.
Yes, O'Connor.
No, O'Connor, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
and the well is here. The well is in pretty bad condition, isn't it?
It is. Something needs to be done with it. Provide a proper access I've been predicting there for going back 100 years. That's where the first baptism of the people around here was carried out. So there were 12,500 people baptized in one go. How it was done, I don't know. Whether they got them to baptize each other, but it seemed an awful job for one man to baptize 12,500.
Yeah, well, of course, could he get them to submerge themselves in the water, maybe?
Well, that's possibly I suppose, much the same as our Lord in the Jordan.
Yeah. Mass baptism.
A mass baptism.
Yeah. Yeah.
12,500 and supposed to be baptized there. This area within the Principality of Ender, who was given this principality and who brought St. Patrick here, and all Ender's followers were Christianized by St. Patrick.
Yeah.
St. Patrick was a good politician. He used the princes in order to get at their people. When he got the prince himself, he had no trouble getting the people.
Well, of course, if he lived around here, that would come easier to him. If he had been a prisoner for 3 years or a slave or whatever, you know, that might have come a lot easier to him.
Yes, certainly it would have. He would have developed an opportunity of thinking out his tactics.
Oh, yeah. He would have a great advantage, wouldn't he?
Advantage in that context.
Yeah.
The influence, the supernatural influence could have been working there anyhow.
Yeah.
Which
would have been reported from here.
I've never heard of any, but there's been a great faith by a number of people I know. Great faith in like the still obtained, like the people I know have made station officers here in the last week.
Yeah. There has been an odd one reported from Kilcummin, you know.
Yes,
there has been. Used to paint this, you say, yeah.
Kelly was about the last man who painted
Yeah.
And it stood up pretty well. I thought 20 years ago that it would collapse any time.
Yeah.
Around here, and I'm a bit disappointed that there isn't greater enthusiasm in having it
made more accessible to people.
Especially as it's not the first place that St. Patrick is supposed to have begun as a missionary
Yes,
work.
and there isn't any doubt at all, I think, in my mind, and that I'm not a person to agree with everything that other people say, but I think it's unimportant whether St. Patrick was herded swine over here or above an Antrim, it doesn't matter. But it's certain that he commenced his missionary career here. That's pretty well authenticated. That when Enda's son, when Earley was on the point of death, and he was dividing up his principality, he couldn't get agreement of his sons as to the division. But he got them to agree to accept the decision of the High King of Ireland, who was a relative of theirs.
Yeah.
And they agreed to that on the journey to Tara. And while they were at Tara, St. Patrick lit the fastest fire in Slane, opposite. St. Patrick came across to Tara, and when he was at Tara, he met Enda, and they recognized each other. In other words, they had met. Whether that's what happened here, or whether it happened in Antrim, where Enda might have been in fosterage with his uncles, I don't know, but it's not important. But Enda brought him here, he commenced his missionary activity here, and he that.
Captain Tressner, the quarter crosswise, or the crosswise quarter, could also mean contrary people, I suppose. Chuck Tressner here coming across one another. Well, Donovan has it down as the crosswise quarter, and here we see it. Now that's Upper Carntrasney, and Lower Carntrasney out on the north side. And this is the contour line 100 feet over sea level. And this is the southern tip of the townland at Castle Lake, and there's the road going through to Banner. Now this there's no road here, but there is one now. There's one. This one is not on the map. It goes on to the present road and down into Banner again. It was made 50 years ago. Now that Castle Lake down in the southern corner is also called Banner Lake locally. That would roughly be the direction of the present day new road, as they call it, that comes up here. Now that's Strand on the west side. Crosswise quarter, and this is what it looks like. Now the fence that goes away, this is the road, it's both sides of the road, while when we go over there a few yards, see that ditch there on the right, goes away down to the right. It's Carntrasna then both sides of the road there. This is looking at from the east side, looking west, and there's the boundary that drained there, and on the right there where these reeds are grown was once Castle Lake, or as the people call it, Banner Lake, I believe. That fence running there through the bushes away over towards the road is the townland boundary. Now, coming across the road here, now going up there, left of that is, or that drain going up there is the townland boundary between Banner and Carntrasna on the left, Carntrasna on the right, Banner. That's what the country looks like. Now this is the new road up by Collins's on the left, and it's about 50 years old. This would be Upper Carntrasna, this village here now we're looking at. Most of the houses that were in it in 1838 are not here now. And over there on the right was a quarry. I think they used to call it Quarry Hill. Stones came from there. We see the wreckage of old houses or the remains of them. People have immigrated from here and changed up around Palmerstown and Mine. This was the new road built. This is down as Cabin Trasna. O'Donovan of 1838 survey has it down as the Crosswise Quarter, coming from Trasna. In 1838 it contained almost 230 acres. Since the last revision the acreage has increased to 237 acres. This townland also included over 3 acres of water which was down there in Banagher Lake, or Cash Lake as it should properly be called. Half of Cash Lake. This lake was known locally as Banagher Lake. In 1838 it was the property of Richard Irwin, who was living in Dublin. His agent was George Irwin of Greenawn, Ballina. 33 farmers and 6 cottagers lived here around 1838. They grew oats and potatoes. Carratrasna was in the south of the village. Well, now, down there is Upper Carratrasna. Here, this village behind me here is Carratrasna, and farther down is Lower Carratrasna. 3 villages in the townland of Carratrasna, all named Carratrasna. The villages are 100 feet over sea level. In 1856, according to the Griffith valuation, the immediate lesser was Mrs. Irwine. The occupiers were Henry Robinson, Thomas Loughney, Lackey Munnelly, John Munnelly, Michael Munnelly, Lackey Munnelly, Patrick Murphy, John Loughney, Anthony Duffy, John Duffy, Michael Duffy, Anthony Duffy, John Duffy, Michael Duffy, John Munnelly, Michael Munnelly, Michael Collins, Patrick Collins, Bridget Ford, John Loughney, James Murphy, John McNulty, Patrick Welsh. 23 families. The number of families declined here by 10 during the famine years. Now, Michael Duffy that lived here in about 1856 had a pound here for caging up wandering animals, etc. Carratrasna is also mentioned in Symington's book of Survey and Distribution. It had 108 acres in those days, and it was owned by Richard Burke and McHugh and McDaniel, 3 different kinds of people. The boundary wall down there now, isn't it?
Yes.
To the right down there, isn't it?
Yes.
All the way down as far as the road.
Down as far as the road.
And the caves are somewhere down on the hill there.
Down on the hill here, yes.
They call it Styra, do they?
Styra, yeah.
Now how about this other boundary that goes down here?
It's going down to meet Carraskeil of Townland.
Yeah. Goes all the way down to the stone wall,
It goes down to the stone wall there.
Can we see it from here?
You can see the stone wall just up here.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the pillar stone.
Oh, yeah, well that's in the next townland, isn't it?
Yeah, it's in Banagher Townland.
Yeah. I'm looking at this now. All over here is...
Yes. No, you want me to face the news?
The roadway leading up there, that's where Pat Robertson originally lived, the Mayo footballer.
Yeah.
Supposed to have the longest kick in Croke Pair, longest free kick in Croke Pair.
Well, he's still supposed to hold the record anyway.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
That blue house down there.
That blue house here, that was his original house.
Well, it was the last one he was living in,
The
wasn't
last one he lived in.
it? So the original one would be...
The original one is just down here where the staples there. It was, in fact, it's not now, but it was there where the thatch house.
Ah, yeah. Ah, yeah.
Now,
Now, there's the townland boundary going away down. No, that's where the caves are, Styra. And we're in the east, the west now, looking down towards Lackenstrand. That drain there, as it moves down and winds down towards the statue on the strand, is the boundary between Foghill and Carratrasna. Over here is Carratrasna, all the way as far as the stone wall over there. Way over there.
boundary between Carraskeil of Townland and Carratrasna.
Yeah. How's up here now?
That's Mussel's now. It was, originally it was Dublin.
Yeah.
Now it's Mussel's. Come up there, that was true.
Here they had the pound.
Yes, the pound was here now and was owned by the Duffy family.
Well, Michael Duffy, that's down in 1856.
Yeah, Michael Duffy.
Yeah.
What his great-grandfather, the present crowd now.
Yeah.
The Murphys.
Yeah.
Family.
Right here in this.
Yes. Inside here, no, that's where he was.
Yeah.
And the water running down there to the left.
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah. The pound was here and water coming down. And as I understand, it was a thing that you had to have water in the pound. Cattle there, they weren't fed, but they weren't allowed to be thirsty.
Yeah.
They always had facilities to drink.
Yeah. So it was one of the things necessary. So
One of
pound.
the things necessary.
Yeah. One of the necessities of a pound.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What was it for? Holding stray donkeys mostly, was it?
Stray animals. And the other thing, if at the time, if a neighbour's animal went in your field, well, you had the option of putting them in the pound.
Yeah.
And he'd have to redeem them, then pay so much on them to redeem them.
And if he didn't, would they be fed or starved or what happened?
They'd be there for so long, and if they weren't claimed, they could be auctioned and sold.
Oh, I see. 9 days, was that?
That's what he told me, that 9 days, after 9 days you could have it.
Yeah.
Now,
Oh,
it's not 25 now. But we'll say 20.
this village up here.
Yeah, this is
Lower Cantra.
known as Lower Carntrasnight.
Yeah.
What known in Irish as Yurterbalya.
Yeah.
About 20 years ago, some of the last inhabitants left it. They built houses away up,
Further up the village.
further up the village,
Yeah.
built new houses.
Oh yeah, some of them immigrated up to different townlands up around Palmerstown too.
So, yeah, some of them immigrated.
Like
Yeah.
Cash, was it?
Some of them immigrated from Cash. And
Yeah. The houses were like these, this
yeah,
one up
they
here,
were
thatched.
ordinary thatched houses. Room and a kitchen mostly. Some of Dad wanted them 2 rooms and a kitchen.
Yeah.
Ordinary all thatched houses. There was no stated house at all at that time.
And far up the village then here was Bailan Kampa, was that right?
Yeah, Ballycampa was further up. Known in Irish as Oak. You get to the camera.
That's the house of Pat Robertson, Malachy Cairn. Oh, this here is where you saw the cave, Jimmy, isn't it?
This is a cave here, and known as Tyra.
Tyra. All this area here, is it?
Yeah, known as Tyra.
Yeah.
And the entrance to this cave, I came out first about 10 years ago.
Did you?
And it was open.
Yeah.
And I went down into it.
Yeah.
And I went about 3 years over that way, or 4 years, say. And it was built on both sides, flagged on the bottom, flagged on the top. There was no muck or anything, no concrete or anything, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Could you stand in it? Stand up?
No, I was on my hands and knees.
Yeah.
When I went back to the beach, I got afraid I returned again.
Could you stand up when you went? Was it the same?
It was the same all the way until I went for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then I returned.
Yeah.
So I came back again. But
Was it
anyway,
dry? Dry in the bottom?
Dry in the bottom, dry in the top.
Yeah.
Everything perfect, clean
Well
as a
done.
pin.
Yeah.
And I came back again anyway. But finally, about 2 years after that, an animal fell into it. So we turned around and took the animal out and got a lump of stones and threw it into it and put it over clear, as you see there now.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yes. Yeah, the hole is there, all right.
It's there.
Something.
Look at here, look at the building.
Something. I do, yeah.
See the side there.
Now this cave goes on this direction, towards the wall. Now this, looking at it here, it's a raised fortification. Or there seemed to have been some kind of a raised fortification here in the time gone by. It's higher than the rest of the land. Called Styra, or the stairs, I don't know why. There seemed to be some fortification in that cave there, would account for an escape hatch. Now it goes out into the next field too, and the cave is supposed to go on down towards the sea or over towards Cushlanagaiha in that direction. Styra.
Cashmere down to the left of that. That's where Mary's grandfather. Yeah.
Left of Cushlanagaiha, is it?
Yeah, at Cushlanagaiha. It's to the left of Cushlanagaiha, down probably 500 or 600 yards.
That's where they think this cave comes out.
Yeah. That's what Mary's father told me. It's supposed to be it was known as Lobby Grania and German. They were supposed, Dermot and Grania were supposed to have a bed there.
Where?
Cushlanagaiha, Cashmere.
Oh, down there?
Yeah, in the old castle.
Yeah. Good, because that's another connection with the sea now you found here.
Yeah.
You know, White on it too. This road here is called the New Road, isn't it, Paddy?
Yes.
What year? 1932, is it?
Between 30 and 32.
You would say it was 27, 28, you know? 28. Yeah, or sometime around then anyway.
Around that.
It's not mapped on the present day map.
Yeah.
This road here out to that house what could be in the 32, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, from that on it'll be 32.
From that on it'll be 32. This will be 27 or 28.
Yeah.
From here down.
Yeah. This road here now was only a path.
Oh, yeah.
This was a path. This road here was originally a path.
Yeah.
It was used by the fishermen, by the whole Carntrasney village. At that time it was mostly fishing and farming.
Yeah.
More fishing than farming, the farms are small.
Yeah.
And it was used for going to that land, or mostly used for fishing.
And going to church too, wasn't it?
Going to church. Then Belligary people, townland away back there, they used this going to church.
Did they use it for going to the bog too?
Going to the bog.
Yeah.
For mostly the turf and this of their own bog, they used
Yeah.
it from here.
Now, when they came to the to where the crossroads is today here, did they go up there and down the other?
No, they went across the path here. The path, the right away here, see the steps there.
Oh, what's the right away all the way down?
That's the right away over, down all the way down to the strand, for going to church.
Oh, I see.
You see, that's the whole right away there.
Oh, yes, yes.
And then there's another right away above it. That's a right away, very old right away, marked on the map too.
See the stores there?
Yeah.
I see them
See
there.
the steps there.
I'll go back to the old house.
Yeah.
At side one of the old house behind there.
Yeah.
It's going to the left of the trees below, between you see where the sheep are.
Yeah.
Just right up at the bottom.
Now, the well.
Yeah. Just right here.
Yeah.
Known as Tabernacle.
Yeah.
Supplied water to the whole townland of Carntrasney, upper and lower.
Yeah.
Tradition says the French came this way in 1798 and they drank from the well. And the water was so cold as they called it the rock well, Tabernacle.
Yeah. Tabernacle. Now, Forge village is down on that
Forge
direction.
village is down here then.
No.
There was two forges there in that village.
Yeah, we'll be down there later. Up here was where the French were camped. Up there on them houses, wasn't
Yes,
it?
up on the height above where the French.
So they'd be coming down here to drink all right, wouldn't
Yes,
they?
yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So that village up there now was called Ballan Campo, wasn't it?
Campo.
The town of the camps.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Well, people wouldn't agree that all the camps of the French were there, so they wouldn't. They were scattered around at where was it? Crookmore and
Crookmore and
about
Bornabinya.
out at the head.
Out
Yeah.
at Kilcommon Head.
Yeah. Okay. Now this here is Carntrasna upper, one of the columns, and they had a forge up here where these two men are standing here. There were two forges in Forge village.
Forge village. In Lower Carntrasny.
Yeah, in the townland. Yeah.
In townland Lower Carntrasny. This was, forge was Tom Collins, was the man that worked here, and it was a traditional handed down thing. His father before him, his grandfather, all worked on the same forge.
Yeah.
There was another forge here now, just across the road here. Another pair of Collins, I suppose they'd be distant relations.
Yeah.
They had another forge there, and there it was a traditional thing too.
Yeah. So that's why this part of the
Part of the
townland was called
townland was called
Forge village.
Forge village.
You remember seeing this forge here?
Yes, so I did. We often got our horses shod here. All the work we ever did was here.
You don't?
At that time, you dealt with it with the one blacksmith, the man you went to. You kept on going.
You kept
to
on
all
going
the
to,
time.
yeah.
That forge work now.
You don't remember seeing the one that was in here?
No, well, the walls were there, but I never seen any work done.
Yeah. How long ago since this one was in operation?
It'd be what, that'd be roughly 25, 30 years ago.
25 or 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Quarry inside here for house.
Yeah, freestone quarry there. There was stones quarried for houses.
Both sides of the road, isn't it?
Both sides of the road.
Yeah. Village of Carntrasna lower.
Carntrasna lower.
Although it's higher than the one that's upper, isn't it?
It's higher, and it's to the north of it too.
Yeah. It's also called a different name, isn't
It's
it?
called Malachampa.
Yeah.
The French were supposed to have camped here in 1788.
Yeah.
On their way to
Ilala. Now, the exact location of where they camped would be...
at Horback, probably up here at Horback, yeah, up on the Up that green field up on the hill there, where that white horse is in there.
It's great, and I can see him from here.
Right,
Yeah, in there.
That's where they can surely.
Yeah. This village has been peopled, I think, are inhabited by contrary people.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Very much so. The land, the houses were congested. The land was congested, and there was a lot of trespass with fowl and geese and one thing and another, and that caused a lot of friction among them.
So they had a rundales here too.
It was all Rundale. It was all, the whole townland was all Rundale at one time.
Yeah. Maybe it's supposed to be called the Crosswise townland, you know, situated crosswise. Maybe it was because they were all so contrary.
Yeah, probably so.
Yeah.
Probably so.
Yeah. But then they weren't really that bad altogether, were they?
No. In other words, their back was a lot worse than their bite. When it came to a point, anyone got into trouble or anyone got sick, the whole village was in and they helped out.
In other words, when the crunch came, they were there.
When the crunch came, they were there. Even neighbours that weren't talking, they came in and helped us.
Well, it was all kind of petty stuff, though, wasn't it? Yeah. Now down here is the site of the house where the year of the French.
Yeah, the year of the French, where the eviction scene was.
Yeah, one of the shoots for.
Yeah, for the eviction scene.
Yeah, down there.
And
that was a house belonging to who?
it was Murphy's. Belonged to Murphy's.
Looster, if you call him, was it?
Yeah, man.
What was his right name?
Pat Murphy. He was nicknamed Lewis Murphy.
And that would be a house that looked exactly like the original houses that were here
Exactly,
in
it was,
1798.
exactly, and everything inside the old dresser and the bed with the canopy over it, known as a taster.
Right, it was there.
It was all there. The whole thing was theirs, as it was probably in 1798.
And the harness over the fireplace.
And the harness over the fireplace and the whole lot.
The whole lot.
And the line over the fireplace. The fishing line over the fireplace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the beam at the end of the house. You know.
So, the village of Carnplaster. We're back again at the quarry and looking up at where the caves were, Styra. And here is Forge village, or Carntrasna Upper. And there we have a scene from the year of the French, 1981, some of the makeup artists and the cast and all the gear outside Pat Murphy's house. There we see the arc lamps shining in it, even though it was a bright summer's day. And here we see some of the RTE equipment and trucks and caravans for carrying their equipment around. And there are the camps set up to house the artists. 200 years almost after the French landed here, there were camps here about 200 years before, and there we see the situation of Pat Murphy's house down there, where the eviction scene took place. Here is more of the equipment being gathered by the Killala police there. Once again another look at Ballion Campa, camps in it the second time, 200 years later. Banagher, named after the pointed rocks or the pointed hills, which we find hard to find in this townland. And that's what it looks like there. There's the road from Caddentrasna way over to Ballygarry and down to the coastline. This one comes down from Cashel, and that's the site of Old Banner School, built 1892. And there's a road going up there called Doyle's Road, or Doyle's Bohin, or Boher Doyle. Here's the site of a fort, and there's the site of a pound in the next townland, Ballygarry. There was a village here, and here's the site of the Standing Stone. And somewhere around there was the site of the first school, or original school that was here. And that's the contour line, 100 feet over sea level. Ahead there is the townland of Banher. From that bridge forward, there's the drain, the boundary line. On the right of that, Banher. On the left I think is Cashel, and there again on the left, Banher. And that's the townland in the foreground.
Banagher. According to O'Donovan, it comes from peaks, pointed hills or pointed rocks. Well, they should be up there somewhere, but I have to find them. Pointed hills or the pointed rocks. It had almost 131 acres in 1838. It belonged to John and Charles Robinson. They lived up there and that, right at the school there somewhere. And this land was allotted to their ancestor as a debenture into Cromwellian confiscation. They lived in Banagher and sublet part of Banagher to tenants at 30 shillings an acre. It had 10 acres of uncultivated land and 8 acres of sand hills. Well, the uncultivated land would be over here, and I don't know exactly where the sand hills would be, probably at the far end of the townland. In 1856, the immediate lessor was Anne Gallagher. She had half of it leased. She sublet it to tenants, Philip Lynch, Richard Welsh, Anne Gallagher, that was herself I suppose. She owned an old mill somewhere in the townland. I think it was over somewhere in that direction. Edward Robinson owned half of this townland. He had a national schoolhouse. Now, the schoolhouse would be over in that direction, I think. Now, according to the reports of the Commissioners of Public Construction, there was a boys' school and a girls' school somewhere around here, and Thomas Hoban was the master. Well, this was the townland of Banagher, 1856.
There's the boundary, crosses the road here, and away up right of this wall, way out the top of the hill. On the left is Caddentrasna, on the right Banagher. New house going up there, another one has been built over there, and the public house that has replaced the public house that was here belonged to Neelan's or Loftus's. This is the Kerryman's Inn. Now, on the left of this drain is Ballygarry, on the right is Banagher, and down there at the bottom runs a river, and there's remains of a one mill down there that belonged to, I think, Gallagher. Up here the other side of the road, there is the boundary wall, and over there